25th, 2024. Board of Alders notice New Haven, the Education Committee of the Board of Alders will meet in person on Wednesday, September 25, 2024 at 6 p.m. in the Board of Alders chambers located at 165 Church Street, second floor, New Haven, Connecticut, to hold the following workshop of the New Haven Board of Alders with the New Haven Public Schools, New Haven Federation of Teachers, Local 287 Custodial Union, SJ Services, and ABM Industry Group LLC regarding presenting and providing an update on the conditions of the New Haven school facilities. Order, Honorable Sal Punzo, Chair. Request, Honorable Michael Smart, City Town Clerk. These items are on file and available in the office of the City Clerk located at 200 Orange Street, room 202, New Haven, Connecticut, 06510. For accessibility related accommodations, please call 203-946-7651D or 203-946-8582 TDY TDD. Public comment testimony may also be submitted via email. Public testimony before 2 p.m. on the day of the meeting. This meeting may be viewed on the New Haven Board of Alders YouTube page. At this time, I would like to have my colleagues introduce themselves, starting from my right.
Betsy, Ward 15, period.
Kiana Flores, Ward 1.
Sal Punzo, Ward 17.
Sarah Miller, Ward 4.
Thank you. Just a few ground rules. Tonight we have groups presenting. What will happen is I'll call those groups up. They will present and providing the update. And after that, we'll go to public testimony. During public testimony, each testifying will be given 3 minutes to speak. Okay, make sure your phones are off. Also, please make sure you state your name and address for the record. So at this time, I'd like to call up the New Haven Public Schools, those presented. Names and addresses, please.
Sure.
Yes.
84 Fort Connecticut.
Thank you.
Dr. Madeline Negron, 70 Cabot Street, New Haven, Connecticut.
Mike Carter, 551 Sherman Parkway, New Haven, Connecticut.
Thank you. Vivian.
Okay. Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Superintendent Negron, thank you for the opportunity to join you today. Coming before you to discuss facilities and more specifically to share the master plan recommendations. I am joined by Mr. Carter, Michael Carter, and New Haven Schools. And I'm also joined by Jim representing ABM. So,
Excuse me 1 second. I'd like to, Alder Amy Barnes is present. Thank you. I'm sorry.
So before I begin, I do want to ground and anchor our discussions on our new path to excellence. Thank you. Again, as you know, this is our strategic plan and where we're going. Now being implemented as our first year. And so where are we? Thank you. So let me start with where are we? So I'm sure we all agree that we share the widespread concern about the state of our school facilities. We all agree, I have no doubt that we all agree, that students and teachers deserve clean, welcoming schools that are welcoming places for teaching and learning. I want to be sure that we all understand how it is that we came to be in this state, what it is that's being done currently, and what is required. So I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to get done today. Next slide, uh, providing some background here. As you know, the district is comprised of 58 buildings totaling 4.4 million square feet. And since 1998, if you look at 26 years ago, we have seen the New Haven Public School, the city of New Haven, rebuild or renovate a total of 36 schools since 1998. Now in 2024, we find that 60 over buildings, or 27%, have aged beyond the 22 years, while an additional 24 properties, 41.4%, have aged between 17 and 20. And end of life for well-maintained buildings ranges between years, according to school facilities management association, also according to the American Society of Heating, Refrigeration, Air Conditioning Engineers. So the budget recommended by the facilities management industry, right, recommended by that industry, is for proper maintenance of real estate, that should be between 2%, 4% current replacement value of real estate portfolio. So I'm breaking down, let me say, we have 4 million square footage. That's how we break it down if we were to have million square footage. So you're looking at 300 per square feet for current construction costs, 1.38 billion for replacement value. And when you look at both capital and operating budget, you should be looking close to $27.6 billion. And there's a reason why we'll come back to that later on in the presentation. But again, all to say that this district has never been close to the numbers I'm referencing now back to 1998. So the deferred maintenance has been so extensive that preventative and routine maintenance of building systems and equipment is almost nearly impossible based on what we have, the limited resources that we have. And the manufacturer recommended interval for regulatory maintenance on building systems and equipment. The reality is that it cannot be completed with the current dollars that we have and the current staffing that we have. And later, we're also going to be showing that breakdown of our staff, how much more needed. But before I go there, and before I turn it over to Mr. Carter, I did want to give you a glance. Yes, it was emailed.
Can we get copies?
All the work here. All the work is here also.
So before we sort of like, I wanted to give you this historical context around what our resources have been, what financial resources have been, not only for funding our facilities, but that's also inclusive of how we fund. So as you see, we're going all the way back, fiscal year 2011, all the way now to this current year, fiscal year 25. I do want to call your attention that those resources pretty much seem to be static until you hit fiscal year 20 and 21. That is where you begin to see significant uptick. And I want to make sure that I remind folks that all of that is because of the year that we all were benefiting from the art ESSER funding, which we also know that in a few days on Monday, whatever we had left had to be on, because that is the end of the era of the additional financial resources that we were grateful to receive as a result of the pandemic. So with that context, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Carter, who's going to be walking us uh, through some of the details. It would help you notice that. We need to invest in it. I mean, I know we're poor.
We have been tracking all the requests that come in from schools, whether it's principals, assistant building manager, inspections that we do in the schools. And since March of 2023, there's been 4,000 work orders last Friday. The highest categories of total are special HVAC, 849. And that's due to the fact that the HVAC system has an average life of 20 years. Our buildings are 21 years old on the average. So after 10 years, you can pretty much let an HVAC system run itself, but after 10 years, 10 to 20, we have to have a serious preventive maintenance. So that's where we have the highest. We have 400 work orders for electrical, 500 for 38 for plumbing, 71 for roofing, pest control, 186, fire alarms, 163. And I'd like to thank the fire chief and the fire marshal's office who's been helping us all summer so we didn't have the anticipated shutdown that we thought was going to have last summer. We meet every week, and we're going to be meeting regularly every month so that we stay ahead of the game on fire alarms and fire doors and fire safety and security, 80, landscaping, 87, keys and locks, 61, and there's like another 20 categories, so I just lumped them under others, but I want to give you some idea what they are. It's request move, painting, playground, sidewalk, order, equipment, etc.
Mr. Carter, could you excuse me for a minute? I'd like to recognize our Walter Furlow and Walter Fisk. Thank you. Excuse me.
Thank you. We've had a lot of work done in the past year on HVAC replacements, upgrades. I'd like to thank our wonderful finance and purchasing people for helping us out, getting the contracts through and getting us money. At Co-op, we have a new domestic water heater, 80,000, and a new hot water boiler loop pump for 24,000. Lincoln Bassett, we also have a hot water boiler for 80,000 and boiler loop pumps for 13,000. Bishop Woods have a new domestic water heater, two of them. James Hill House, new hot water boilers, 3, and pumps for 719,000. Pretty expensive. Willow Cross, 3 hot water boilers, hot water pumps, 688,000, and also RTU unit for the daycare and RT centers for rooftop units. And also we are waiting, we have a contract pending to do upgrades on the calls at Wilbur Cross. Fairhaven, any hot water boilers, 650,000. Feature new chiller for 627,000. And Betsy Ross, MAU and controls replacement for 62,000. We're waiting for the photo to come out sooner. There's been a lot of talk about mold testing. Mold comes from several sources. It could be leaky roof, be it leaky HVAC unit, and or just routine dust and other things that stay around and create mold. We spent $58,500 in fiscal year 23-24 on remediation and testing. What's the grant? 7,600. Rural Sheridan, 5,900. Testing wide is 25,000. 164,000 spent in remediation testing thus far this year, and that's my 3 months. So you basically have tripled the expenditure in 3 months that we did in 1 year. We see the schools and we will continue to monitor and respond to requests for mold testing and remediation. We have planned major HVAC projects underway. What we know so far, we have payments of 2.5 million, and we are doing a chiller replacement at John Martinez, Clinton Avenue chiller, Wilbur Cross chiller upgrade, Wilbur Cross cooling tower, Ross Wooded RTU replacements, and 2 million RTU replacements, and we're waiting quotes to find out what that price is.
I'm gonna jump in here.
I'll take it.
So you've heard some of the right upgrades that we have related to the HVAC and mold issues. I also want to provide context related to our custodial staffing. So our resources for building maintenance and custodial work, I want to make sure that we're grounded right on that history. So some of the historical context is that before 2009, NHPS had its own team of tradesmen and custodians who performed the necessary work for the district. But in my research, I found that due to citywide cuts that took place in 2009 and 2010, that's when the school district began to privatize these services. The district implemented a plan to save $4 million of its $50 million budget that they were spending back then for custodial work, and that the strategy was to reduce the workforce and hire an outside contractor to perform the work. So that's how that shift became about, where it became to be privatized. And the contract was local 287, and local 287 is here today. This is not about disagreements with local 287. I'm extremely grateful for the work day in and day out, and the pride that they have in their work. Local 287 then settled in arbitration. That ended up reducing the force from 154 custodians. Again, I wanted to give that context of 2009. And then
I'd like to recognize Alder Douglas, Alder Douglas, thank you.
Thank you. The Association of Higher Education Facilities Officers, APPA, has several resources for maintenance steps and guidelines for education facilities. And maintenance efficiency assessments fall into categories 1 through 5, with 5 being the crisis. So we looked at our parents, staffing, tradespeople, and we said right now in the budget says 14. Actually, we only have 11. And those 11, one is out on disability. We have 1 vacancy. So we have 3 electricians, 3 carpenters, 2 plumbers, 1 painter, and 1 steam fitter. Okay. Where are we now? Cost has been on preventive maintenance plan. The available resources that we have are used to fix system as they break. We prioritize repairs by the urgency, i.e. by the extent to which they affect the health and safety of students and staff, and non-urgent repairs only made count. Going forward, we must be ownership of the district's custody of maintenance work. This means rebuilding the trade shops. Also means having public school employees whose job is to oversee the quality of the work that gets done and who can account for it. Those roles are currently missing from our organization. Badly needed. We must also develop a sustainable school infrastructure. Go.
I lost my magic touch. Yeah, okay.
Okay. To be a more functional staff in trades, we suggest that we have 6 maintenance supervisors / inspectors. And you see the salaries there. That's just the baseline, times 6, but the benefits are not calculated in. You can see the benefit calculation up at the top. It's 11% pension and 41 medical. We want to add 1 admin person with contracts and work orders, et cetera. But our recommendations for the trades is to have 33 additional trade positions, 2 shifts. Right now, it's basically 1 shift. We want 6 painters, carpenters, we'll go from 3 to 10. Electricians from 3 to 10. Plumbers, right now we have 2 to 6. HVAC mechanics right now, they're steam fitters, but we will go from a current number of, I think, 2 to 6. And fire protection technicians, we need those. I'd like to have 4.
So I also want to remind folks what we presented to FNO in 22-23, I'm sorry, January of 2024, the report that had been done back in 22-23 by Spiegels and partners that basically looked at the first thing is looking at all of the buildings, enrollment, looking at the state of the building, to produce a report that allows us to begin to look at a strategy to move that forward. So that was phase 1. Where we are now is going to detail we need to engage in that second phase. Deeper into looking at all the systems and everything else to then determine so that we have enough data to then be able to say, we know our buildings are heard that you know that we are past the time, basically their lives. So that second report should give us sufficient data to then be able to arrive at the decisions on how it is that we want align with our path to excellence, but also something that I know I have been mentioning to you since last year, the whole idea of what might that school consolidation look like, which buildings we decide to invest in, which buildings we have to say it's not worth investing because like they're done. Those systems no longer are available. So why put money in something that we know it's not going to be long lasting? So again, that's what we were as related to the report of schools in part. That report had these objectives. Gonna let you kind of look at those. But pretty much it was about how to possibly consolidate your pre-K schools, looking at utilization of the school, the condition and the age, capital renewal versus cost avoidance, making sure that we could achieve a fiscal and operational ability plan by a right-sized portfolio, developing capital investment strategy, and we desperately need that. Providing a full complement of spaces to the buildings, whereas for our buildings, they don't really need anymore the programming that we want out of them because they were not designed that way. Okay? So that was another piece that came up in the report, as well as addressing the both house and work product, while also the plan expansion for CTE and also overall the quality of our interdistrict. And there were some planning strategies that were part of the report. You see here these six. Um, and on the next slide, there's a little more about what it is that that report was able to provide. So again, it was just a picture of the real estate conditions across the district to assist us with the decisions related to our capital planning development. But I have to reiterate that was in 2020 and still to launch the second phase. So we will commission a facilities commission assessment, similar to the one that Springline did here in the city back in 2008. Such assessments typically are conducted by architects, engineers, and musicians. Of the report that we and the findings to then be able to details related to the condition of the equipment in our cities, prioritize replacements, and again develop that capital project. In the next slide, to we do have our timeline.
We need the assistance, professional fund that us look at our facilities and we miss, have to add several things that we have to look at in addition to just the physical buildings, uh, HVAC systems, roofing, electrification, mechanical systems, air distribution system, control system upgrades, net zero energy. Look at infrastructure relates to IT and security, and also ground maintenance and especially playground maintenance that we need for our children as well as the. You see before you the proposed timeline, and I will have to admit that it's aggressive but not aggressive enough. I meet every day about this, and we're going to have a pre-bid meeting October the 8th, and then with contractors and get the timeline tighter so that we can have our assessment and recommendations, which will go to Board of Ed, so the auditors, but we need to work to get that done as quickly as possible so that we can go and get statewide for the capital improvements. I just want to give you a snapshot of school consolidation. If you look at some of the years of school years and greater, 712 properties, that's 12.1% of buildings. In the 14 years, 11 properties, that's 19% of our total buildings. 15 to 20 years, 24 total properties, 41.4% of total buildings. And 16 properties are 20 years or older. So overall, 40 properties are 15 years old or older, or 69% of total buildings, of the 3.06 million square. A review of programs and durability conditions to yield data-centric recommendations for realignment of district school buildings. These will require involvement by the Board of Education, the City Economic Development Office, and the community to achieve an actual plan on public schools and in the future. You see next steps. The most critical part is getting the RFP out and get qualified contractors, architects, engineers, et cetera, that have not only experience in buildings, but also dealing with school systems, the best in the country. We have the last slide, which the superintendent will cover.
Thank you, Mr. Carter. So, in conclusion, again, we must adapt our facilities to the needs of our community in order to deliver the education that we know all our students deserve. That means that a substantial new investment will be required to make significant improvements in the maintenance of buildings. There, I'm just giving you a reminder, right? That's the federal budget. In terms of fiscal year 24, fiscal year 25, and again, I'm very grateful to you, your support as others, the support of our New Haven delegation that continues to advocate for our needs at the state level. But the reality is that we will require additional operating support for not only the repairs to our building systems, but as well as bond funding that we are going to need so that we can invest in the necessary renovations of our school buildings. And ultimately, it is going to require a commitment, strong commitment, similar to the one that in the city of New Haven back in the 1990s. They went to the process, going after the bond money and having a capital. Right, but this time, we have to learn from mistakes. Not only do we go after bond money, create a plan, but make sure that it is inclusive of what the preventative measures are going to be, so that we don't have beautiful buildings today And then in 15 years, their buildings that are falling apart. So again, I am here to thank you for the opportunity to speak today. Continue to thank you for the support that you continue to give to the schools, and to remind us, you as the alders in the education committee, all the alders, the community at large, that we must all act together. This has to be done together so that we can attain that next chapter of excellence. Thank you so much for this. That, we will pick up our questions in.
Thank you for that. Really. My colleagues have any?
Thank you. And I think it's important to acknowledge that nobody at this table is responsible for the situation we're in. I agree that it's on all of us to try to figure out how to solve it together. Just a couple of technical questions. On slide 14, you list these maintenance staffing needs. Are those, you're planning to hire for these positions this year, or this is like?
This is what we need, that right now, we don't have the money for. But we know that we need to rebuild a whole team of tradesmen. We know that that works best. Because when we have our own people, people from the community, people that are assigned, they take great care, pride in the work that they do. And things are done more easily. So this is how we are making the first step, and increasing to those 33 additional trades positions, as well as the internal capacity that we need in terms of the maintenance supervisor and inspectors and the administrative support, because right now we don't have it. All we have is, or org chart is chief of operations, no middle. Then you have our contractors, you know, services, right, that takes care of some custodial work. And then we have our local 280. But there's a lot that's missing, and no one's fault. Right? It just has been chipping away to ensure it's been mitigating budget deficits over decades. And little by little, this is what we find ourselves.
So I just want information.
We will need that to expand the group of folks that we have in our HPS. You're welcome.
Any other questions? My colleagues? I just have a question. This seems like I've been around a long time, lived the other end of it, around trade people, really worked well. Again, like you said, Dr. Duran, they take pride in what they do. And I really saw it work very I think one of the important questions is, what are we gonna do now? Make sure that now to the end of the school year, the buildings are safe, uh, so that, our teachers, is there any plan for that at this point?
Right now, a little more in detail about the money that we have budgeted in facilities. When those work orders come in, we do our best to go out, do the repair, do the patchwork, enough to kind of cover it up. And that is how we are living in terms of the numbers that we have. There are still some projects that are encumbered inside of those carpets and others. Hoping we're going to be able to finish. There has been a lot of work that has been done, specifically like let's talk about cross, right? Cross in the map. We're meeting on Monday to speak about other things. There has been significant work that has happened over across. There are other projects that are across right now are budgeted to be able to do. That doesn't mean that we disregard the other schools. is come in, do our best to call at the contractors that we need, put people to work, so that we can at least, right, be able to have a building that's open and that we can continue to teach, to continue to learn. But the reality, I think you guys know me by now, I'm transparent, I don't sugarcoat it. The reality is that this whole beautiful package of beautification that we want, and state-of-the-art facilities that we want, we're not gonna be able to do it right away. If we come together and do the advocacy work that's going to be needed to operate in we can get.
Any other questions? Oh, Betsy.
Thank you. When you talk about the same conversation to before this,
So I'm very happy to say, again, it's been my experience since my arrival, that we tend to work very collaboratively. So there have already been conversations where Mayor Elicker and myself have sat with New Haven delegation to just talk about, for example, there are the needs of, there's been preliminary conversations. I thought in terms of how much money, right? Money, low money, where does that money go? So that there's clarity in terms of how we are being fiscally responsible with every dollar that we spend. But even now, and I thank you for your question, I'm gonna kind of extend it. When I was named back in, it was in April, I remember standing in Bassett for my first interview. And people asked, what are you most worried about? And I said, I'm most worried about the fiscal. Okay, name that when I came. Even with the right sizing that we have done this year, and those have been very painful decisions to make. For some reason, people seem to believe that there's still this money tree hidden somewhere. Folks, there is no hidden money tree. The money, what it is very limited. It's well accounted for in terms of provide for children. And you have to provide based on our agreements. That is what we have. So we will continue to work with our delegation. They have been amazing, very supportive, continue to work with you, continue to work with the union, who have also been great in partnering with us in the advocacy, so that we can say we need support to provide affordable education to every child that deserves it.
Just to follow up, same question, kind of line of questioning. So it's gonna be at least a year, it sounds like, until there is a plan in place to go for that. And in the interim, we have major, I think, safety concerns that we don't seem to have the dollars to address. I mean, in the school in my district, we have ceiling panels with big pieces like falling off, and it was supposed to be like summer. So it seems like things just keep not happening that really are significant concerns. So if there can be an interim to go for bond, if there's state funding to address some of these major issues that we don't seem to have the resources to address that really need to be addressed.
So let me clarify that those types of things, more safety issues, those things are taken care of, right? They're very small, they're fine. Like in that Mr. Carter, there have been tons of ceiling tiles that have been replaced. We've been able to put out. We started already working on the, yes, the red walls on the stairs. Started to do some of that work. So, right, when those things come up that are safety related, immediately, right, look to address those. When there is all like, we believe there's mold, right? Immediately call in, get a tester in there and double check and verify that indeed there's no, we know that in some cases, right, there is the condensation that is creating those things. It has been the case, for example, over across Walter Miller. There's those things that, yes, there's still a little bit of money aside into the facilities that we can have. It's not a lot that we use and we have set aside this year to continue to do some of that.
That has been my experience, that things get addressed in our divisions. And I want to ask that there be some attention to the grade year plus. I mean, I'm thinking just of the school that I know the best in my district, and it seems like there's an acknowledgement, but then there isn't follow through over time. So we can talk about offline specific cases, but I think I'm sure that it's not just this one school, and it seems important to really have a plan. I understand the need for the master plan and for the comprehensive impact, but really issues are not being addressed.
And if I may add, and again, Ms. Carter, maybe jump in, one of the things that we are scrutinizing is the work order system. Right, we brought in finally a new work order system, but it's important, right, that that work order system is being used in the way that it should be, so that when somebody, let's say there's a work order, somebody opens it, they go, okay, now I accept that it's gonna need X. Don't close the work order, because if you close the work order, when you close it, it might be interpreted as job completed, right? Those two things are very different. It means that it's still open, but then you have to call somebody else to come in. So those are the kinds of things that we are looking at, because we know that has been a significant pain point. We are well aware of that. I don't know if you want to do that.
Alderman Benji?
We look at the work orders every day, and one thing I'm grateful for that if there's things that were put in but were not done timely. Typically, the principals or the business managers reach out, and Mr. Aline and I are working on the inspection schedule, because in the past, no one went out and inspected the schools. They should be inspected quarterly. In addition to when the schools close down in summer, all the schools should be looked at, which haven't been done. I do get emails and texts from principals, and we go out and resolve them. There's some that have come to us that have lost in the work order system, but Mr. Link, his staff, and I address it as quickly as possible. And whatever is missing, he sent to us, and we have some grant money, thanks to security, and we're able to have cameras and other things, some of those major things like that. The one recommendation I'm going to make is that it's not the fact that we don't have all of our resources, but if I put a $150,000 request for supplies, whether it's cleaning, whether or not it's towels, whether or not it's bathrooms, stall doors, soap dispensers, a big order. It has to go to F&O, which is not a problem, and the Board of Ed, the bid has to come over here. And we need a quicker, better process, because it's those little things that hurt you. And so I've seen that, and I agree with you. If you have that, you could let Mr. Lee know. I know he's been very active, because he's doing 2 jobs, and we're making have some urgent work order system in and of itself, as I tell you, but reach out to us, and we will be there.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. My question is about the new work order system, and that's the replacement for school board. Did all the old work orders carry over from system to system, and are they still accessible to them? I just want to echo something that Walter Miller said. I believe I work in the building she's talking about. I started there in 2018, I started under Mr. Cordero, now under Mr. Morales, and I know that work orders were put in for a lot of things, such as faucet handles and doorknobs and toilets. And those bags on them or no hand. We've resorted in our school, some of the teachers have taken rulers and cut them down to small tools. So these are small items. I don't know why that would be take 8 years.
So, and, I'm familiar with the school. That's where I spent a lot of time there last year, and I know exactly what you're talking about. I was with the principal, actually yesterday, looking at the auditorium before, and realized the piece had not been done yet, right? So, and speaking to that, one of the things that we're trying to do is there's a separation between project management and so they were separated at one point in time, and now we're going to bring them back underneath. Something in the project now, it falls back along the operational side to now fix it. If we don't have that connection, things like that fall through the cracks, right? There's an expectation that the flooring was going to be done and it was going to be done at the same time, and the panels were going to be taken down, and that part of that didn't happen. Well, that's something I need to know about, and so we're fixing that internally. So these are small things we can do internally with limited resources that we have. And then talking about the work orders that get in place, the ones that don't get completed, right? As Carter expressed to you, we're in a crisis response kind of environment. Right? We have 11 positions for over 40 buildings. 2 plumbers, right? Only 1 right now. Right? So the question is, how do you prioritize, right? When you have it. So in crisis response, what happens is people start raising the flags, right? We'll superintendent, they're going to talk to their assistant superintendent. So how do we set the priorities? Which one comes first? Which one comes last? How do we determine who today, service tomorrow when I don't have the service? One of the things that we're going to do in the meantime, as we're trying to obtain more personnel, is we're going to have to collectively come to an understanding that emergencies and safety issues, right? Because we're in this time. It means that, unfortunately, if you're saying someone that is not working, that one safety because I have and it takes 4 months of working for that earliest. But if we make everything a priority, if we make everything an emergency, one quiet work order that no one's complaining about, it never gets done, right? And so we have to have crisis response. Everything's an emergency environment. And so what we're looking to do right now is actually set up a schedule. 60 days out, it's actually going to be produced by the foreman of the trades. And based on what they know, based on history, based on schools, and to say that, this is an emergency. This is when we're going to be coming to your school, right? So that you know that, for instance, if it's a plumbing work order, we're going to say the plumbing department's going to be at your school particular day this month, right? Until that day, unless it's an emergency, you're going to have to wait until that day because right? And he can't be everywhere all at once. So it's to bring a collective understanding of where we are, right? And to have an agreement. And if it's an emergency, yes. It's not an emergency, we have to set a schedule. Have spent a last work order that's been sitting there, why do you about it? It doesn't sit there for a year. Because otherwise, it will sit there for a year because we keep doing things we're doing them right now, right? So the idea is the school thing that is scheduled to go in, and they start with the oldest work order, right? And they finish everything they can that day. Then they schedule another day, and they come back 24 weeks later, whatever it is, right? For a larger school, you can get it twice a month because you get more work days. So as of right now, the resources that we have, unless it's an emergency, it's the only way to manage it in an effective way. So we're actually starting that as of October 1st.
I'm glad you brought up the, if I may, I'm glad you brought up the auditorium because I was there when the original plan was made. Let me first say that we're blessed at Fairhaven to have Stephen, of course. They work with next to nothing. Right? One of the plans of that custodian was to lessen the work by putting linoleum under the carpet, the aisles. How did we go sideways the entire auditorium?
That was the project management decision at the time of capital dollars. I can't answer exactly who made the decision at the time. My understanding is the cost of it. And the decision was made to go fully concrete because the cost to put a different material underneath the seating subject they put aside for it.
Okay, just excuse me, I'd like to recognize Alderman Wingate.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any other questions from the committee? Alderman Miller?
I'm thinking about a story of President Kennedy when he visited NASA. Do you know this story? And he saw the custodian in the hallway. And he said, I'm helping to put a man on the moon. And I'm wondering, amazing custodians. I've also seen, and this we do see it more in the periods of time when we have contracted people, where we have rappers that are in the hallway and they're gone the next day, and they're in the hallway the next week. How we get back to a situation where everybody who's working, taking care of the building, that's what we're doing. We're working for we're working for the union, working for schools. They say I'm helping to educate the next generation of kids from New Haven. How do we get to that?
I think it takes collective effort, right? It's about everybody understanding, like you said, that we're all in here in every job that we do, whether it's the custodial job, whether it's the cafeteria job. At the end of the day, all of those things are necessary to get our children the education that they need. So I think creating that climate, right, where people feel that they're part of something, that they're invigorated to be a part of something, and that they see the significant contributions that they make, in that as a district, that we also recognize the contribution that everybody makes. Because everybody works hard, everybody deserves to be recognized in the contributions that they make.
Are there any questions? Committee? Do not.
Thank you for your time.
Do we have,
Is the time we got signed up? I'm not sure if that's-
she is here.
I just want to remind you.
Yeah. Thank you. Do we have someone to speak from the Labor Federation of Teachers? I thought I saw.
Yes, she's in the hallway.
She's on a call in the hallway.
Well, this is the presentation part. It's not public testimony. We're going to have the presentation part, and then we'll go into public testimony. Okay, is Tom DeLuca here from the, yeah, you can come up, Tom. Local 287 Custodial Union. Name and address for the record, please.
Dennis Condell, 77 Sugar Hill Road, right there.
Lucia, 12 Gilbert Avenue, here in Connecticut.
Sherlyn Poindexter, asked me, staff rep, council for 492 Wooden Street, Camden, Connecticut.
Thank you. You're on.
Well, before I say what I wanted to say, I wanted to say it was a great plan that Dr. LeBron and Mr. Carter had up there. I'd like to touch on a few points that Dr. LeBron said about the custodian savings when they privatized us. She said it was $4 million. It was actually $3 million that was thrown around. Believe me, I know because I lived it. I lived through that period. Also, mentioned your work. I was superintendent down, then nobody, then ABM, then S, then local 287. So here we are. This is what we want to talk about tonight. Basically, we got two vendors, private contractors that are, I guess, ahead of the 287 building managers. I'm sure she didn't mean it like that, but a little offensive. That's why we're here tonight. And I do want to touch on the shortages. You know, we talk about hiring more people. We're also 16, 70 people short. We've been probably for the past 2-3 years. maybe not that high, but I mean, it's 15, 12, now we're at 17. I think another person will just leave. We're not replacing, we're not hiring anybody. So we need to start doing that. And so let me just say what I want to say, to get back to what Miller brought up, to get back to, so he's not having all this stuff in the hallway and all that. What we're coming here tonight for is to ask the city to bring our facility and custodial management back in house where it belongs. The reason it's like that, we're privatized. Whether it's custodial management, everything. Privatization, the definition is the transfer of a business, industry, or service from public to private ownership and control. Key words here are ownership and control, which is exactly what we employees and residents who have since we handed the keys over to all these different companies. There was a lot. And then we wonder why we can't get in the door. These private companies have destroyed New Haven. They ruined good jobs, our public school buildings, and we have impeded our teachers from teaching, and most importantly, our students from learning due to the horrendous shape a lot of the buildings are in. We as local 27 building managers and assistant building managers take pride in our district. I know Dr. McGrone, Mr. Carter, and the rest of you know, like, right, for instance, is there any other department in the city besides the custodial department that has a private management company doing payroll while having access to the city food system? So, another thing that sets us apart from other city employees is that we are handcuffed. My local 287 members are constantly limited in what we can do in our schools. It's preventing us from reaching higher standards in our work that if it were up to us, we'd have no problem achieving. We consistently struggle with not having enough supplies. It's not clothing or bags lined up. You know how embarrassed it is when we have to tell a teacher we don't have any toilet paper to put in the bathroom? Honestly. We must deal with broken machines that don't get fixed. We're unable to wash the floors. Yeah, and they'll tell you tonight that new contracts coming out of October. But in all reality, if the machine's been broken for last year, the year before, to ask anybody. So we see things not being fixed in buildings over a long period of time and have no way to change it. This does not even include the worst managed summers in my 24 and a half years on this job, and I'm not even exaggerating. Our custodial manager would not send stricker or wax to any of the schools that had summer school until the summer school ended. Even though they had hope for not being used for summer school. That poor decision set preparation back 2 to 3 weeks. At the end of the school year, I voiced my opinion at a meeting. I told them the union did not agree with their plan and would not take the blame when 30-some schools that were held back are rushed to finish, which they were. Which segues into my next point. They don't listen to any input from the people in the trenches that actually do the work. They don't hear. Rather than have a collaborative approach and communicate in a way that allows us to solve problems and work together, they do the opposite. Our custodial director can't even respond to a text, email, or phone call. Something happens and we need information from them. A year and a half ago, I brought this up, and their response was they get a lot of email. This is what our city and taxpayers are in. A company that fails to deliver proper services and even communicate effectively with its employees. Every few years, the Board of Ed contracts with the new company. But a lot of the same employees in the old company just switch shirts and logos. Regardless of what flavor the company is, the fact remains, the custodians who have been with the district for years have no ability to move up to supervisor role since custodial management. The stepping stone within our field to grow professionally and financially does not exist for us anymore. Instead, we're stuck where we are. Enough is enough. It's time for change. It's time for New Haven to get some of its ownership and control back. Start investing in employees who are looking out for the community and want to do the best job possible. We are unionized 3144 positions back, management positions back where they belong. People that actually have the knowledge and experience for the job. We deserve room for management like we had some years back. During these businesses to reclaim our keys by ending their contract. Make us and hold us accountable for our. And lastly, I would hope not be any type of retaliation against my members here to support local 287 stands. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Dennis Nundell, and I'm a building manager at County West, and currently vice president of Local 287. Just to piggyback on some of the things that Tom said. Communication was always a big key. Whether it was the first private management company, AFB, then go to, and now ABM. We always, as this union board officials, we would go to them and have our labor management meetings. We expressed it multiple times that we've always wanted to be part of the solution, help our schools thrive. We came up with cost-effective savings that benefit the city multiple times. For instance, telecom issue. We used to do a big portion of them when we had a grounds crew before we were private. Years later, we came forward with the union met with CEO, CFO, and bring some of that back in house. Just to give an idea of what our savings, there was a time that 287 guys would be plowing schools just up and save past winter alone, where we dropped it down to only like 7 schools that we were capable of doing due to vehicles not being fixed and maintenance and direction. We saved roughly $80,000 per school we had contracted out. That was only 7 schools. We did roughly 90 schools where it's between the $200,000 to $400,000 range. That's just one type of thing to show that we always want to be part of the solution to help the financial problems. When the schools closed, we as the union board went to management and to talk about trying to get the engineers' positions back because of the HVAC quality, especially right after COVID time and how important it was. So again, we're not here to just totally make everything a witch hunt. We've been here as local 287 members with our experience that we brought to the table of coming with general solutions to some of these problems that we're facing here. And we can have the financial needs of
Good evening. As I said, my name is Sherilyn Poindexter. For the past 4 years, I've been a staff rep for ASME Council 4. I also served as union officer representing 400 members of New Haven management employees, ASME Local 3144 for the city of New Haven. For 25 years, I served as an officer. 8 of those years was the union president. I retired after serving 32 years of service here in New Haven. Most people here know. I am here today in solidarity with our brothers and sisters, members of Local 2. I am also here to be a bearer of the truth. If there's anyone who's seen the harm of privatization, specifically ABM's failure to properly deliver services, their mistreatment of employees is me. Currently, I represent Putnam Custodians, Local 1347 in Putnam, Connecticut. About 3.5 years ago, the town of Putnam privatized custodians at ABM. As a result, there was a steady decline in the quality, timeliness, and professionalism of the service they were contracted to deliver. ABM management made it harder for our members to do their work. They constantly lacked supplies such as toilet paper, paper towels for the schools. They were forced to work with unsafe equipment that needed replacing. They also experienced an extremely high turnover rate and was never staffed. This is just the tip of the iceberg. But more when it comes to ABM pattern of disrespect towards employees, the union, and their collective bargaining agreement. Over the course of this year, I filed 9 complaints with the National Labor Relations Board against ABM. Some of their worst offenses include waiting almost 200 days with stolen wages to return. Their to make employee and employee contributions to the firing 3 employees without just cause, one of whom was a union president. Fortunately, those 3 employees were members of the union. We fought to get them respected justice they deserve. One of the 3 employees was reinstated, the other chose to settle their complaints by leaving the employment ABM. Also through the advocacy and members of the union, the Putnam Board of Ed superintendent turned the tide. In January, they voted to end their contract with ABM, thus returning the custodians to being public sector workers under direct employment of the Board of Ed, which took effect July this year of 2024. We were able to tie the employees back in-house. The job. This transition also gave Putnam custodians a chance to renegotiate their contract and resulted in significant improvements such as better working conditions, pensions, and access to supply materials and equipment to do the necessary work. I wish the story for New Haven custodians could have a similar kind of ending. How is it that the decision to phase out union custodial work, a decision made by New Haven elected leaders, now requires the unionized custodians themselves to be here tonight and bring light to the spirit of New Haven School? Why is ABM, well, ABM is here, but we holding them accountable, not they are not here, they live here. When I was working with them in Putnam, their management lived in Ohio, New York, New Jersey, Rhode Island, and other states. There was not one person coming from Connecticut. They are not here because they don't have a stake in New Haven. There is no obligation for them to care about the growth of the city or have ties to the public. As elected leaders, you do. You have a responsibility to invest in the people of New Haven. Let's ensure taxpayers' money is used responsibly and invested back into the community, not out-of-state companies with a poor track record of labor violations. More than half of Local 287 members are union residents. Out of the 12 unions that are represented in New Haven in New Haven, custodians are the only ones that do not have the opportunity to be promoted into 3144. I heard the superintendent talk about 2009 and 2010 when this all took place. I was here at the time, fighting against ABM and privatization. Local 3144, which I was the president of, had members that were supervisors. There were at least 7 of positions. They oversee all Local 287. And when those people left out, it gave 287 upward movement into those positions. That was taken away. Those jobs need to be brought back and give these custodians the opportunity for advancement. The Haven custodians know the work in the community because they are the community. They have been here all along and they deserve a chance to advance to fill these jobs. If Putnam decided to do the right thing by ending their contract with ABM, New Haven can too. Doing business with a company like ABM is not in the best interest of people. I urge you to stand with the custodians. They are ones dedicated to serving students, school staff with the utmost integrity and professionalism. Bring these jobs back in-house and do what's right for the New Haven public employees, students, our school and residents. In the contract with ABM, they are offering that management. Thank you.
Any questions?
Thank you for the presentation. The building manager, I wonder if you could just kind of walk us through how this works. Like, you're the building manager, how do you ABM, how do you get supplies? Like, what is the workflow, and where are some of the pain points in that from your day?
So I'm the building manager. If there's a problem or something needs to be fixed, broken, I submit water system. Like Mr. Allen said earlier, it's a matter of how they prioritize determine if it was how serious security of things being mixed. Of course, when you are in the building, you know the importance of the doorknob that is possibly going to come off inside the classroom, or have the partition that you're trying to get fixed. The change order, the work order system being changed over, in my opinion, has been a failure. So the work orders have transferred, but some of them are being closed. I don't know if the numbers for today's presentation or not, because that was a little, I've been getting complete. If something's complete, it's something, especially when it comes to HVAC system, outside here and causing extra mold damage or stuff like that. As far as my day-to-day duties, I'm responsible for the building day and night. I have a part-time employee there, assistant building manager, and city employee at night with part-time SJ work cleaners. Even with that, it's just the layers of management makes it complicated at times. If an employee falls out, the correct answer right away. And replace that person. If one of the city workers out, it would be filled in with by another. If I'm out there and my night assistant building manager can't cover it, there would be another assistant building manager, which might not be true with all the staffing and stuff. So it's like knowing of who's coming, when they're coming, and stuff like that. But we're responsible for building, cleaning, maintenance of the building as far as that, and reporting anything. That's exactly.
In terms of supplies, are you ordering supplies?
Yes, we order
supplies. And if you don't have supplies, what's the process?
We do order supplies. We submit a supply order weekly, and they usually come the following week, depending if it's all in stock or not, which is sometimes the problem. Whether everything is in stock, sometimes it's like the necessities that you always need.
Just one thought. You mentioned that you're hiring. You have 17 vacancies. So how is the hiring going? Is that a large number of vacancies? Is that normal, or what barriers do you face in hiring?
Barriers we're facing in hiring is just there's no hiring. I mean, they actually, I believe, the alders included the charter to maybe go from classified to unclassified, which the answer I got from corporate counsel means that there's no more civil service tests. So I disagree with that, but in the long run, that should be easier to hire people, because now you could just post the job. It's easier for them to hire all the friends. You know what I mean? Which is what it is. They got to do it. Work gets hired. Got to do the work. But as I said, I want to say another girl just so we're like, we've been like that last year, the year before, like for instance, Dennis's guy just did to a building manager job from a guy. Now he has an open night spot. Problem now is we have, I believe it's 5 or 6, 5 open spots at night in the building, like assistant building manager. So that's 5 buildings that doesn't have a night guy. I mean, it gets filled in every day by somebody different, overnight. But we have 12 floater positions. Actually, that's what it's for, to go cover. I can take a floater and cover that spot, basically. Yeah, so that's where we're at hiring. We're not. We need to at least fill them 5 vacancies to make sure our schools are filled. Floaters, it is what it is. We can deal with that.
Thank you. So you're not allowed to hire, or when you say you're not, why are you not?
We don't hire. The Board of Education hires. So I had emails back and forth when there was civil service for years. Basically, Tom Dan was here. They put the civil service test out a few years back. We did an interview. We hired a few people, and then that test expired, and now
There's normally civil service test is a list. So if you, post a job and you don't have to post a job if you have a list. There's a list, you should go off that list to fill those vacancies. But if they're not, if they let the list expire, then you have to start the process all over again. So if they're not, if they don't post a job, then they're not hiring, they're just not filling the job.
So it's not posted.
Right now,
The
no.
vacancies, you have vacancies that are not posted.
For years, yeah, so, and honestly, when ABM first came in, that was, their big thing was, you guys are 15 people short, I'm marching right down to HR, and I'm gonna get these people hired, that's what they told me at a meeting, and it never happened. And I told the guys, I believe his name was Jeff, that's not gonna happen anyway, but.
And that's what happened. They have to deal with all this. They left them short staffed all the time.
Thank you.
Alderman Benton.
Thank you. Chair. Mr. DeLucia, a quick question about supplies. You always get what you order?
No.
Explain.
Well, I'm the president, so I mean, I get, people send me, as they send in their order form, a lot of them put me on it. So they'll send it, whatever, and then we'll get an order. A lot of times it's skipped for some reason. I want to say, because of all the emails they get, they might miss them. But then what will happen, their order to say, like, I don't know what he ordered, but say he orders 3 pieces, but how many rolls are there? 6 or 12 rolls? 12. So it's 36 rolls. Now, the Fairhaven, I believe, like the third biggest school in the city. So there's a lot of bathrooms in that school. So, now all the part-timers, so they come in, they take what they gotta take, fill their stuff up. So now, come Monday, like, there's no more. So when you do order, you put the new order in, you order 3, it gets cut tomorrow. So now you're already behind the eight ball, and now you get delivery. When you order that one box, as soon as the people come in, they're grabbing toilet paper and filling up what they could. You know what I mean? See, towel paper, same thing with like I said, it says large bags. Like they've been behind the eight ball since the end of the school year. Again, they're gonna say there's no money and whatever, I get it. But you cannot have no toilet paper, no towel paper, no bags in a school, in any school. I don't care how big it is. But so that's like the major issue. I end up having like I'll get an email from somebody saying, or they'll call me saying, they only sent me one, I have no more. They'll send an email, and it's hot kids with me on it, basically saying, I don't have any more toilet paper, towel paper, or bags, and it's Monday. And I got to respond and say something, and then all of a sudden, a delivery will go there. But it shouldn't be like that. You can't micromanage it. I mean, yes, you do have some people that might over-order, but the majority don't. The majority don't manage to order kind of what they need. If you're trying to eat more from the start of it, you're always going to need. For instance, a lot of people didn't get a delivery for the beginning of the school year. The night, when I say the night, I'm talking about 8 o'clock at night before school. And school is the next day. They have no delivery, and they get the delivery that night. And now they're filling up everything throughout the summer that was empty. Now they're still short until their next delivery. It's just chaos. And then again, like I said, you got to go tell your teacher, sorry, I don't have any paper towels for your kids to wipe their hands. We're told there's paper towels in the bathrooms in the classroom, and then over to 6. So basically, you get 6 rolls in a box. So you're basically told not to put it over to 6. But then the teacher asks them for it. What are we supposed to do? First, you got to give it to them. The kids go wash their hands in the sink.
Any other? Alderman March?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's okay.
I'm sorry. So, clarify, you know your school toilet paper doesn't get more basic than that. You are putting in requests for orders for certain numbers of boxes which you know have rolls, and you're not getting, ABM is not giving you
Yes.
what you've asked for?
Yes. They're cutting it, or like I said, sometimes they won't get it, you won't send it, because I'm assuming they misplaced your order.
So just to clarify, you're not getting fulfilled the order you're putting in.
Yes.
And communication from that toilet paper doesn't arrive, to let you know that the order's being shorted and plan for the short order and plan. Is there any communication?
No, there's, basically what'll happen is, sometimes if there's not supplies at the warehouse, she won't say nothing to anybody, just won't send the order. Until we got an email, and then you'll get communication, oh, the order's coming in Wednesday. We'll start, as soon as Wednesday night when it comes in, we'll start making delivery. But in the meantime, you should have said that Monday, you know what I mean? And not to be prepared for it, because no toilet paper, there's no toilet paper, towel paper. Like, that should be communicated. And that's the problem. You know, I would assume we don't want to like feel like like it's her fault. Well, technically it is.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
I'm trying to wrap my head around. So you don't have communication, not with toilet paper the children literally need for their most basic necessity. And sometimes you're told there was a shortage at the warehouse. There are other explanations that are given to you when you get explanations.
No, what they're doing now, like I haven't heard none of the past few weeks. I'm sure rumors been flying about what we're trying to do. So now I'm not assuming she's giving everybody exactly what they're asking for, but now they're going around taking pictures of your supplies in your school. So like they can say, oh, you got to, like, you know what I mean? It's just, I'll be honest with you, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Are there any questions from my colleagues? Alderman Miller?
One follow-up.
Yeah.
I want to go back to the question that Alder Redenti raised, the bathroom stall being broken and cloud closed with
Rulers.
rulers. You guys are the ones who generally report things like that, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And what are the patterns you're seeing in responses to those reports, those types of reports, especially around bathroom doors and bathroom equipment?
It's not being fixed at all.
I could literally print out probably 7 to 8 years worth of work orders. I had 2 vendors come on multiple occasions that I had to walk around the building to get quotes and bids. It was promised it was gonna get done. And the thing is, it's not always just one clear man. This is what happens in my opinion, when things are privatized in the sense that there's not the urgency and the importance. I know there's financial struggles. I know that's a lot of what the presentation was about. But at some point, it seems like when things get fixed is when they go really bad, and that's not the way it should be. It shouldn't wait for the kid to get cut on the rusted bathroom for that to get fixed. When a building manager that cares about the students and staff is reporting it, and there could be a chart, there could be spreadsheets on what's category 5 and thing, but what's category 5? You know, a fire panel that's consistently buzzing every day at the front entrance of my school doors. When parents have to drop off their students and wonder, is my kid going to be okay? And year after year, they fix it in the summer, they're going to do arts on water, and those are the type of things. Yes, it is financially struggles. Yes, we need more money in our budget. I agree with what Lieutenant said. Absolutely. We need more trades. We need more money. We need more fight. But there's at some point, if something seriously goes wrong, these things need to be addressed. And there's been times that we come with better solutions than the people that we can only report it and do so much. It's frustrating when you report it time and time again, and still doesn't get it solved.
So level 5 is like the most urgent.
I heard somebody using that scale earlier.
Would a bathroom issue be a level 5, and you don't do a classification?
No, well, I A lot of times when there was a checkbox, I would, maybe I got overkill with, I would categorize a lot of things like that.
Through you, Mr. Chair, could we request a copy of all outstanding work orders that relate to safety concerns, including bathrooms, organized by board, distributed to the office?
Well, it's funny you're saying that, because I don't know where they got that from when they were up here before, but the old work orders were supposed to be transferred from school due to FMX, and they weren't. I had a conversation actually with Mr. Carter about it when we first got in. And actually, that day, the next day, all of a sudden, some work orders started coming over, so a lot of them are out of the system, but I know, what I understand, one of my members told me that the guy Jeff that started the trades, he has access to all the paperwork on school.
Yeah, I don't think it's something we could.
Yeah.
Request from the district.
And don't, and also too, I say to you, we mentioned here that since this whole thing's been going on, that they noticed that a lot of work orders are being just closed out as if it was completed. Also ask for the things that have been closed and what day they've been closed. So you can see the volume of stuff that you're closing out now, the inquiries are coming in.
I think,
That they're not being fixed, they're just saying they're complete.
I've been getting a lot over the past 2 weeks. My building is a central kitchen, but we don't have that many. We got issues, but I've been getting a lot completed over the week and a half. I got a couple today, a couple the other day. I mean, some were, but some were in the system.
Thank you.
Yes, you with that, there is all the work orders that are being closed, but sometimes they're being closed and it's saying. So a lot of times in the past, like I said, certain things like bath department, and they put it back 7 years ago. But then I know hands have changed, so I'll put it back in again, but I'll resubmit the original work order. So it's not that I'm putting it in just to be spiteful and keep putting it in. I'm putting it in to show the pattern of this was promised here, going back to this date, and keep going on like that. So it could be sometimes things being closed out thinking that you're putting them on. So we don't want to overclog the system, but at the same time, yeah.
We'll do that. Any other questions from you? I just have one, I think it's probably the most important question for me anyway. When you put a work order in for perimeter doors or interior doors, you see that being done immediately, because I think that's the most dangerous situation.
Not unless it's like literally not closed, like won't close out. Outside perimeter won't close.
Are there any other? Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
United Federation of Teachers?
I apologize that I stepped out at the time that you called me. My name is Leslie Bletto. Address as well? Is that the
Yes,
phone?
yes, please.
Leslie Bletto, 410 Greenwich Avenue, New Haven. I'm teacher, parent, and president of New Haven Federation of Teachers. Thanks for the opportunity to come talk to you all tonight. I want to focus on 3 main points tonight. The first is just to name that the historical context of this crisis is incredibly alarming. I'm grateful to Dr. Ramon for giving us that historical context, because I think from that and from the stories that we've heard this evening, we can conclude that privatization is not the answer. We can see that attempts at short-term savings years ago have really led to long-term costs, which we can't put a dollar sign on right now, because we know that the health and well-being of students and workers in Greenville Public Schools is at risk. So the short-term savings that were attempted 15 years ago have significant implications for the long-term cost to New Haven City, New Haven Board of Ed, people's health and well-being, the learning of our students, which is the crux of everyone's focus, because we're talking about I think so we know that privatization is the answer, and we know that we need a renewed commitment from our city leaders to good union jobs in our schools, in our communities, and in our city. That has been made clear today, and it's reassuring to see leaders from New Haven Public Schools making that case. I think our most egregious facilities issues are in the 3 schools that have been privatized for custodial work. You know, and I can go on and on with some of the concerns related to that. You know, we know there's mold, we know that there is understocked paper products, et cetera. You know, I don't want to belabor the egregious issues. I would like to highlight a couple of examples of the failed work order system being discussed tonight. So for example, Betsy Ross School is one of the gems of the New Haven Public Schools, an arts magnet middle school that attracts students from around the state who want to engage in arts as middle schoolers. There is a mold outbreak in the dark room of Betsy Ross School. That's not news to the folks that were alerted about it today. There's documented from almost a year ago, November 2023, December 2023, January 2024, of issues in that dark room. And it took, a direct email, the email that I believe Jamar was highlighting, that they take it directly to the director. But it's because the system is so saturated and overloaded that it gets missed when we use the protocols of flagging it. So then it does become red alert. Send it to Mr. Carter, send it to the assistant superintendent. But we have a mold outbreak in a dark room, and we have, according to my members, we have silver traps that collect the silver. I'm not a photographer, so don't ask me the specifics. But silver traps collecting the silver that I think should be emptied yearly, I'm not sure have ever been emptied at Betsy Ross School. We have a breakdown here, and we need help. Another example with the work order system. We know there's mold in our buildings. I was at Brendan Rogers today. There's mold on the ceiling tiles in the hallways at Brendan Rogers. And members are drawing attention to it. The custodian was there. I checked in with him, the building manager. Are there work orders in for this? Yes, there are work orders in for this. I trust building managers. I trust principals. We have a protocol that I use with my members. When there is a facilities concern, bring it to your steward. The steward will bring it to the principal. The principal will make sure there's a work order in. And then our vice president of the Federation of Teachers has access to the online system. She can check to see if a work order's in. So back to the mold tiles at Betsy Ross. Check the work orders at Betsy Ross for. So either they weren't posted, it could be human error. I recognize people are stressed. I'm using that one not to blame the building manager, but as a highlight that there are glitches in the system and we need help with that. Or was it closed because it was looked at and potentially closed but not followed up? But either way, there's fuzzy mold in the hallway of Brendan Rogers where young people go to school every day. Vulnerable children who deserve that. There are some examples that need to be highlighted here. And I'd like to share, if I may, a statement from our building steward at Fairhaven School. As part of the example of that people are doing incredible work during trying times. Dear members of the New Haven Board of Alders, I'm ready to express our strong support for our 2 full-time local 287 custodial building managers, Corey Stanley and Stephen Ortiz, who serve at Fairhaven School. Their daily work ensures that a building accommodating well over 1,000 people runs smoothly and safely. Despite the documented challenges we face with plumbing, electrical, HVAC, and carpentry issues, the dedication and commitment of Mr. Stanley and Mr. Ortiz remain our most valuable asset in maintaining the functionality and safety of our school facilities. Mr. Stanley and Mr. Ortiz are not just custodial building managers. They are an integral part of our school community, knowing our students and teachers on a personal level. Their contribution goes beyond maintenance. They are part of the fabric of our school. Teachers at Fairhaven School acknowledge that there's still significant work to be done that exceeds the capacity of our 2 custodial building managers. We stand together in full support and solidarity with Local 287. Respectfully submitted by Michael Suarez, New Haven, NHFT Local 933, Fairhaven Building Steward. This example speaks volumes to what we know about schools and school communities. That the people who work in schools should be like Mr. Stanley and Mr. Ortiz. People who are embedded in the community, committed to the work. We need more of those. Again, it's heartening to hear that NHPS agrees that we need more union community folks working in our schools. And that's the example of community schools that we should all be striving for. That the federal government believes in New Haven and gave us federal money to do that work. The second point I want to make after historical context, the fact that we know that privatization is not the answer, is this is, I'm speaking to this with my teacher hat. I think there's a parallel between this facilities crisis that we see connected to underfunded capital budget by the city of New Haven and the No Child Left Behind era. They started around the same time. We're about 20 years, 25 years in to the No Child Left Behind era and to the beginning and end of good union custodial jobs in New Haven public schools. And I want to ask a bigger question here about what is the purpose of school? Because I think this will help guide us back to what we need to do. So are schools testing factories to satisfy the requirements of No Child Left Behind, where spreadsheets and data reign, and where the school system really is more focused on data managers, supervisors, and office jobs? So that's one pathway, and it looks as if we are on that pathway. Or could we go back to what we would perceive to be the reality that schools are brick and mortar spaces, living communities, thousands of human beings of all ages need those spaces to be safe, welcoming, and well-maintained, where hands-on learning experiences can be prioritized. Because as James Foreman pointed out at the Board of Ed meeting on Monday evening, facilities impact learning outcomes. And teachers, our members, need functional facilities. We don't have them right now. What we do have are more cabinet and directors working in central office than we have tradespeople maintaining our schools. So there is a reality right now where it appears as if the data is more important than the actual spaces where people are showing up every day. And as people know, the data isn't good currently. I would argue that the tests are the wrong measure. That's a hearing for another time. The data isn't good. Let's not point fingers at the teachers who aren't doing enough progress monitoring. Let's not point fingers at that we need to purchase another multi-million-dollar curriculum. Let's come back to the reality that our buildings are not acceptable learning spaces for so many of our children, and that might be part of the connection here of why absenteeism is too high, of why our test scores are too low, because we've forgotten what the purpose of school is, which is it should be an invested in, nurtured space for the people who show up there every day. Students need to be able to count on teachers. Teachers need to be able to count on a system where, yes, our children have toilet paper. I'll use one anecdote of my daughter. I don't like to include her too much in things. We were driving downtown one day over the summer when Yale was doing some renovations, I think, on Old Campus. What's that? I said, that's Yale. They do renovations on their buildings all the time. They have a lot of money they're able to do that. We don't have soap in our bathroom. She's not as political as me. She doesn't like going to rallies. She doesn't like other things like this. She was able to make that connection. And you can do renovations all the time. And it's a norm, even when we came back from the pandemic, that our children's bathrooms now have soap. So what's our path forward? Our path forward obviously is funding. We know that's the reality. I want to name here that New Haven Federation of Teachers supported the appointment of Dr. Negron to be superintendent of schools. We continue to support her leadership, and we have faith in her to be a good steward of resources as we move forward. We believe that she is committed to the city, to the city's children, and to our schools, and we are committed to her vision of collaboration with unions, with central office, with city and state government, so that we can do what we need to do for our children. We could, we need historical context, but we have to move on. We have to look forward. So we are looking to the city for continued city support. We recognize for the last 3 years under the board, this current board of alders, and with Mayor Elliot's support, funding for the public schools has increased. We recognize that. That's a good thing. Because the historical context is that capital funding is unacceptable. We have to find a way to increase capital funding for New Haven Public Schools. General operating funds, the capital budget has to go up. You've heard the reasons why. In addition, we know we have to work together. We need as many members of the Board of Alders to join us when we go to Hartford actually before the legislative session starts, and once the legislative session starts, to make sure that not just our New Haven delegation, because they do the best they can in a state with a lot of moderates who don't want to fund cities like New Haven. So, there are many of us who know people whose representatives aren't, Gary Woodfield and Juan Candelaria. They're on our side. So what are we doing to engage those suburban representatives so that we can hold them accountable to adjust the quote-unquote fiscal guardrails that are blocking $4 billion in the rainy day fund at the state level and $4 billion of the budget surplus right now, blocking that money from getting to communities like New Haven and New Haven. So there are fiscal guardrails in place. They're misnamed because they're not guardrails. They're not keeping us safe. They're dangerous leftovers of a 2017 budget deal at the state level. We must remove those obstacles to progress, those roadblocks to progress, and ensure that New Haven gets the funds it needs, namely the bond funding that Dr. Negron spoke of. That would be crucial for a young student who goes to Elm City Montessori, who is zoned for cross. She was at the board meeting. She's a third grader. She was at the board meeting on Monday night. She said, why is the pool at cross green? Is it really green? I am an optimist. I'm a teacher. I have to be. I believe that that little girl who's in third grade now is going to go to cross, and cross will be better. Whether the pool is no longer because it needs to be classrooms, because New Haven is a sanctuary city and we welcome students in, and the other pools in the city will be open, I believe she will remember that board meeting and say, this school is in better shape because the community will cross stood up and advocate for that. It has to get better. It has to. Last point, in addition to funding. Well, I will take this moment to say, it's not just city, it's not just state, it's also federal. We know that ESSER funds are expiring. New Haven Federation of Teachers and our community and coalition partners, we will be engaging in a day of action on Monday to make sure that more and more people know ESSER funds are expiring on September 30th. We need renewed funding from the federal government. We need the roadblocks to progress, the fiscal guardrails to be removed at the state level, and we need to continue to collaborate with the city so that these egregious facilities issues can be addressed. Lastly, I think we have to continue to be creative. Before I became president of the Federation of Teachers, I taught 12th grade at Metropolitan. And I always felt ill-equipped to support my students who didn't want to go right to a community college or a four-year college. That's how I really want to be an electrician. Miss Luttrell, I really want to get into the trades. And yes, our students should be going to college 100%. And yes, our students need real pathways to the trades. And I know there is a renewed interest in that through CTE in Haven Public Schools, but it's not enough. We know that, we can talk about the difference between the suburbs and New Haven. We know the suburbs. People who are in the suburbs are interested in those jobs. Their uncle gets them in. Their friend of a friend gets them in, and they have a smooth pathway from high school to a good union trades job. So why are we not thinking creatively to build more explicit pipelines for our high school students who want to be electricians and plumbers and HVAC techs, and say to them, we're going to train you here in New Haven Public Schools, and you're going to commit. Same as New Haven Promise. You're going to commit to staying in New Haven, to taking on these jobs, to being an apprentice, to working in 287 First maybe, and then moving on to some of the trades. We need a New Haven promise for the building trades. And, we are in a position where we have a brave and bold leader in New Haven Public Schools. We have collaboration with unions, with city government. We have to do better, and I believe we can. Again, I wouldn't be up here if I didn't believe it could get better. So grateful to you all for calling this hearing. Grateful for the opportunity to speak about our members' concerns, our students' concerns. Our students' concerns are our teachers' concerns. You saw that at Wilbur Cross on Monday night. Our teachers care so deeply about our students and know that they deserve better. And that's what we're going to do, and I welcome if there's any questions.
Miller?
Your testimony. I'm wondering how teachers navigate in the current climate with the building manager, ABM. You could talk a little bit about what you're seeing and hearing from your members about just like the day-to-day, what's working, what's not working, and how to sort of work through some of the challenges.
I'll say, I'll be honest, most of my members, I don't think know the specifics of Local 287 or ABM. Their concern are the 27 students in their room. I think, some of them have really good relationships with the building managers, and they know how to supposed to be over here. Hey, over here. It's a community. I think in the spaces where there's privatization, there's a lot of folks feeling jaded, hopeless, and resigned that things aren't going to get better. And they really have to live at that reality every day, where there's unknown substances dripping, where there's fuzzy mold growing, where there are, bleachers broken, where there are things cutting people's arms, where there are a range of really horrifying things going on. You have to survive, because their job is not to manage those issues. Their job is to manage the other range of behaviors that we know teachers, manage behaviors, engage with students, create meaningful learning opportunities, make referrals for homelessness, for mental health crises. So I think some of it is sadly a disassociation with it, because if you think about it too much, it's not going to work. And guess what? We're losing teachers because of the facilities crisis. We have an incredible band teacher at Truman School, incredible. A talented musician performing this weekend in a couple of places. And he teaches music to Truman School students. It's been 6 years now that HVAC has been broken at Truman School. And his room, when I went to visit Truman last week, was 83 degrees. That was after the 25 students left. So 85 degrees, 25 students trying to teach music. He said, I just wish it could get fixed, because I watched so many good people come and go. Because maybe they couldn't turn off the brain, and they did keep thinking about the problems. Why am I still here when I truly feel forgotten? And that's the legacy of the decision to privatize. That's the legacy of a choice to not hold Yale accountable, to not make sure that funds are put into a capital budget. That's the legacy of, why do we have so many vacancies? In part, yeah, sure, people move on, but in part because people say, I could go 20 miles down the road and I have looking.
As I prepared for this committee meeting, I spoke to a lot of teachers that I knew, who I got to hear when I was across. Can you speak a little bit about the relationship between the teachers and the current building manager at Overcross High School?
I think it is too big a job for one person, plain and simple. Just as you could be a better teacher if you had 18 students in your room and 3 paraprofessionals to meet the needs of the students with special education needs, versus 27 students in a room who speak 5 languages in the para. The building manager will do a better job when they have a support team in place, and not being left oftentimes on their own without the tools they need to do the job. So I think there's stress at times, and I think, you know, I'm not here ever to speak ill of individuals. This is a system problem that causes deep stress. And again, when we highlight the example of Fairhaven, of the embedded community and the collaboration, we should celebrate that. And when there feels like a system that is broken, let's peer into it and let's see why. And it's because the team is understaffed there. It causes stress. So we need more supports.
You have a question? Seeing none, thank you, Leslie. I appreciate it.
Likewise.
We appreciate it. Okay, is there a representative here from ABM? Is there a representative from ABM who would like to speak? Is there a representative from ABM that would like to speak?
Mr. Ali is to take an emergency call on facility, so.
Okay. Is there someone from SJ Services that would like to speak? Is there anyone from SJ Services that would like to speak? Is there anyone from SJ Services that would like to speak? Seeing none, we'll go to our list of testimony, public testimony. I'd like to call up Jake Halpern. Jake Halpern.
Representing Wilbur-Cross Parent Teacher Association, and my fellow officer, Kat Gomez Stafford, is here, but didn't know about the sign up. Is it possible to?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
3 minutes. State your name and address, please.
My name is Jake Halpern, 99 Livingston Street, Haven.
You have 3 minutes. And if you're both going to testify, you both have 3 minutes.
Get my name down.
All right, go ahead.
Kat Gomez Stafford, I go 24 Gerard.
Okay, thank you. So, about 3 years ago, Kat Gomez Stafford, our other officer, started the Wilbur-Cross PTSO. Didn't exist at that point. We currently have 160 members. We're organized. We do about a dozen events a year. Right now, we're actually missing the ice cream social tonight. And I just wanted to tell you that one of our main jobs right now is to keep our teachers from leaving. Because we get paid better elsewhere, and we're trying to show our appreciation. So our star, one of our stars is Chef Bradshaw, who runs the culinary team. Y'all probably, he's amazing. If you haven't seen the documentary on how he won the national championship, you'll watch it, you'll cry like I did. Amazing, inspiring dude. So I call him up and I say, Chef, the PTSO, we want to do an event on it. And we will pay for the meal, your kids can cook it, and we'll invite the whole school, and we want to give you guys the kudos. He said, Jake, I love the idea. The only problem is you don't have a working teacher. I also reached out to Eric Teichman, who's our band teacher, another amazing guy. They want a bunch of awards. I said, Eric, can you bring the drummers in, the drum roll, really make it a great event? He said, Jake, our music wing is shut down. And I also had this idea that we're going to do a cookbook with Chef Bradshaw's recipes. Gail actually some interest in actually doing some publishing. We can do it at collaboration. Folks, I am a deeply positive person. I believe in the power of positive thinking, but I'm also a realist, I'm a journalist, as all Marx knows. This is a full-blown crisis. Our school is rotting from the inside. The roof is leaking, mold is festering, the plumbing is busted. We've got amazing teachers like Mr. Teichman and Mr. Bradshaw, and they can't do their job. The parents in our organization, we love Wilbur-Cross, right? And the proof is we have entrusted to that school the most precious thing we have. Our kids, our 2 boys, Ella and Kat's daughter. I don't know how we got here. What I know is that this moment right here is no longer time for finger pointing or grandstanding. It's time to fix this thing. And I applaud Dr. McGrone's plan for bonding and to get 200 or 300 million or whatever we need to fix this, because this is not a Band-Aid fix. So I think we need to build a coalition. I've been talking to State Senator Martin Looney. We need to get our state reps. We need to work with Leslie. We need to work with Dr. Plateau. We got to get everyone in on this because it has to be fixed.
First of all, I'm not a speaker, but I am an alumni of Cross. I have, Bella is the last of 4 children that have attended Cross. I've seen the full spectrum, and I love it dearly. I am Cross Pride all the way. It's it's a little sad when my daughter asks me to pick up toilet paper and pick up wipes, and she keeps them in her bag. She gives them to her friends because there's nothing there for her friends, or when they can't go to the bathroom because there's absolutely no reason for that. There definitely has to be accountability. I appreciate the board for their recommendations, but there has to be some sort of accountability. It can't be something where let me go check. I also work at the hospital, an affiliate of the university. There is a check system where you can go online where your process is. Once something is completed, you can see that it's been completed when. There should be some sort of mechanism for our schools, the same way that Yale does it, should be doing it. Yale benefits from Cross. Their children go to Cross. Majority of the children go to Cross. And, you know, yes, we have a lot of Latinos and underrepresented children who attend. Well, there needs to be a way that we can utilize how we utilize this. We have over 400 students above what we're supposed to have across, and there's no looking back. That's ridiculous. There's no ice machine to get hurt sports. There's no way to monitor this. And again, like I said, our children are still then but 4 children, graduates from Cross, went to Stanford, medical school, went to UConn, aerospace engineering, full ride. Big Cross builds these students' education. We should invest in school, just point blank. There's no reason why there's no accountability. And that's something that's really missing. I mean, I'm not sure, but I understand that the mechanics department is going to be down. I mean, might be a little, I'm not sure. I totally agree with the teachers union about the trade schools. I always tell my kids, you're either going to go to college, a trade school, or the military. There is no just going right to a job. So we need to make sure that we know that there's different pathways for these kids and make that available. The is great. The CNA thing, great. But what about the mechanics out there? The kids who take science and love to learn about electronics. These are pathways that we definitely need to invest in.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you.
Steve Leroy. Steve Murad. Steve. That sounds like about it. Steve Shrag. And the next person is going to be Pat Shiroko. So, ready, Pat. I do apologize if I can't pronounce your name the right way.
I didn't write it very well.
Give 3 minutes.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Steve Shrag, and I live at 36 Buckley Street in Blanchard. I'm active in the Kansas Council on Occupational Safety and Health, which is a statewide coalition of healthcare professionals and unions trying to make sure that workers go home healthy. And I was asked to testify about the impact of mold. Obviously, health effects of exposure to mold can include like respiratory respiratory problems or exacerbating asthma. And some severe cases, could be infectious disease, depending on how that mold situation is. The sources of mold, you've already heard about: leaky roofs, ventilation pipe leaks, standing water, and dripping systems. Controlling mold, my experience is that there's 4 legs at the table that help control mold. One is protecting whistleblowers. That's why I brought this poster. This is a federal OSHA poster that we post in every workplace to make sure workers feel that they speak up. That's the federal one, and there's a state one for sector employees as well. You notice it has a specific list of rights there. My experience is that the biggest obstacles to reducing hazards is workers are afraid to raise their voice. There's fear of retaliation, there's fear of all kinds of blowback when they raise their voice. The second leg of the table is creating a health and safety community required by law. The Division of Worker and Connecticut Worker Comp law requires that any workplace with 25 or more employees has a health and safety community. That we would assume that most schools have 25 or more employees there. Doesn't matter about bargaining units, about the whole number of employees. Those committees should have an equal number of management and rank and file workers on it. You should be members on the committee. The chair is elected by the committees and by the committee itself, not by the head of the school. They should keep minutes. They should have an agenda which provides inspections, and they should meet at least every 3 months. This is a way of building accountability in the workplace. Make sure the problems are addressed and solved. The other piece that's not required, but it's suggestions are what's called root cause analysis for the hazard that people face. OSHA 300 logs are a log of all injuries and illness required to be posted in February through April of every year. And you should do a root cause analysis for everyone that's injured or in the workplace. And they should develop an accountability checklist to make sure that the problem is solved, and someone should sign it. Okay.
Thank you for the testimony.
You're welcome.
How does OSHA work with schools? What is the oversight mechanism?
OSHA covers all public sector work. Federal OSHA does not cover public sector work.
What's the enforcement mechanism for OSHA rules in public schools?
There is OSHA, which it has compliance officers who would come down and enforce the rules.
Inspections?
Yeah.
How knowledge?
There's very few program inspections because there's not enough inspectors. Mm-hmm. They will respond to a complaint.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And the next person will be Anthony and Ferguson.
Pat Scirocco, 14 Night Lane, West Haven. I'm the building manager at Barnard School, and I'd just like to talk a little bit about equipment. I've had a machine that we use to maintain our floors. I had trouble with it back in February, so I put a work order in, and we kept along with it until April. Finally, the front wheel let go. So I put a new repair order in, and it took until June. This company called Spartan that we're using to come get it. And I don't have much faith in the company. We had a company before that was Hilliard, and they would come right to the school and repair the equipment. But anyways, they said that the equipment would not be fixed because it was too much money. My question is, what's happened to all the pieces of equipment that they're saying is not being fixed? The other thing is I have a snow blower, So as long as I took to fix that, I put a work order in today for my stove blower because it's leaking gas, and I want to make sure I have that by the time the winter comes. And also, leaks in the building. Leaks, I've walked 3 people around for re-insulating, for quotes, and nothing's ever gotten done about the leaks. And because of the leaks, we're changing ceiling tiles all the time, which I'm sure is costing us a lot of money. And supplies, like Tommy said, a lot of times you're robbing Peter to pay Paul, taking them out of one dispenser to another dispenser. Love it.
Thank you.
Anthony Conforto. And the next person will be Anna.
Hello, my name is Anthony Conforti. I'm the building manager at Truman School. I've been at Truman School now 19 years. And from my very first night at Truman School, I dealt with a leak in the roof on the 3rd floor near the elevator. Up until this day, I'm still dealing with that same leak. Got probably 7 or 8 companies over the years in and out of the building. I have a work order here that was closed down in 2011. This work order states, unfortunately, there is no solution. Entire roof is repaired. Since 2011 to this present day, numerous Band-Aid patches have been put on that roof. That'll last a couple months, right back to the same. Numerous ceiling tiles. I've changed hundreds of ceiling tiles I've seen here over the years. Still the same people. Some things, work order system, you put a work order today, it'll come back tomorrow finalized. There's work orders that were in the old system that disappeared. I took them out from 2020 till now, just because of that. Because you put a work order and then it would vanish. It's not right. This is what we do. Why? You put 3 supply orders to get 1. Every 3 I put in, I finally get 1. Unless I email or call Tommy, have the principal send an email, then you're there. I know what my building needs. Been there 19 years. Summer. I'm gonna floor my building. Make sure no summer school is allowed. I clear it out so I can do that while summer school is going on. I wasn't able to get the supplies until after summer school ended. Or I could have had the 3rd floor done. Working backwards. It's not right. That's about it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mark? And then after that, we'll have John Muser.
My name is Mark O'Hannon from New Haven. First of all, I want to thank you guys for listening. I know everybody's been bringing everything up. I'm going to bring up a few more things, more personal to my school, like these other guys just said. Equipment repair is a big thing. I have a piece of equipment right now that in July it would be a year old. 2 months previous, I had spoken to somebody maybe because I went down and I thought I should get a warranty. Nothing was done. So now they come in to look at this machine, it's coming out. So there's money wasted. Pieces ordered 6 months wait for 1 piece per piece of equipment. So not necessary. Summertime, summer cleaning, you heard of the bottles we had, whatnot. When it came time, I had a summer program. When the program ended, I started doing my summer cleaning. I said, all I need was assistance. They were telling me, no, we're going to do this, we're going to do it half. Do it not the proper, which I don't want to do. I do it proper. 26 years in the job, I do it right. So they finally did send me help after coming in on. Got it done. Job was done. The other thing was, last summer, I had a rash of broken. Took months to get the windows, they repaired most of them, I still have one window that hasn't been replaced. Asked multiple times about it, oh, we gotta do this, we gotta do that, still a broken window. And the last thing is, and this is a big thing to me, this is 3 years in row with this one now. I do not have a flag in front of my building. I have a flagpole that hasn't worked for 3 years. I come from a family of veterans. I took pride in putting that flag up every day and taking it down every day. And it's been an ongoing battle. So, for just a few more things, just to let you guys know what's going on out there, so. Thank you for your time.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
Can you share what school you're at? I'm not sure.
Oh, I'm sorry, she was sort of, Benjamin Jefferson School.
Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Andrea Barrows. And after that, we have Corey.
That's what you can see. My name is Andrea Barrows. My address is 450 Washington Avenue, West Haven. I've been a New Haven educator for the past 28 years. And I came here tonight really just to stand with my brothers and sisters of Local 287. But as I walked into this building and looked around, my first thought was, you can tell this building isn't maintained by ABM. No leaky ceiling tiles, no mold, just a beautiful building. And that's not what we're seeing in our school. I can't attest to the exact problems that the building managers have, but as an educator, I can attest to no toilet paper at times, lack of supplies, inferior supplies, plastic bags that just break, that used to be, you know, and it sounds so silly, but plastic bags that actually held your trash, but now have to be double, tripled up because they're of such poor quality. I can attest to ongoing leaks in our building where numerous workers have been put in and there's no leaks there. I can attest to the teachers union having to get involved with us reporting what isn't getting done in the schools, what work orders aren't getting completed. See what else? Just a quick note. And one of my main, this was said earlier, I believe strongly that our buildings fall in the hands of the Local 287. There are people that have been in this district for a long time. They care about our kids, they care about our schools, and they care about our communities. It's much more, just creates a better environment overall than a large corporation. Thank you very much for your time, testimony. Thank you.
After that, we have Ashley Stockton.
Corey Stanley, 7 Quinnipiac, building manager at Fairhaven. But I just came up here to talk about what happened in the summer. We were told that supplies were going to certain schools and other schools would get them as follows. We had programs, but our third floor was empty. So me and Steve were thinking about a week or two after school, summer school, you know, we'll start getting supplies. Order form, those supplies. Roughly, summer school in 15 days, we start getting stripper. We had already started this top strip and everything. So basically soap and water. It's still the same steps, but right? So we still gotta pull the machine out, we still gotta vacuum it up, still gotta mop it up, but there's no proof. So we're basically just cleaning old wax, put new wax on top. And like at Fairhaven, 1,000 people, 1,000 kids, that every day. Like that can't happen. Maybe for a small school, you know, maybe, but for a school that size, they sent people over to help with stripping when we had no stripping. like that, you know, smack in the face. They're like, oh yeah, yeah, that was great. What exactly? With what? We the top star. There's no chemical. It's just soap and water. No perfumes or anything. But that's all. I just wanted.
Thank you so much. Your question.
Thank you for testifying and thank you for everything you do with this. We really appreciate you.
Mr. Chair, I got a quick question. When did you end up getting waxed?
Like I said, it was about 15 to 16 days before school started.
And did you get enough wax to complete the entire school?
Well, we got the.
Thanks.
I still have the.
That's why we love you, Corey.
Yes, thank you.
Actually, start.
The dude could clean his eyes, walking back to the door. I lose the rest of the photo.
Hi, good evening. My name is Ashley Stockton, 209 Willow Street. I've been a New Haven public school teacher since 2006. Proud teacher at Truman School, and I'm really happy to see our custodian Anthony here speaking on behalf of our school tonight. He does an amazing job. I'm also a teacher at lacrosse. I have a son who's a senior there this year. And I'm just going to ask you to sort of give a little brief about all of the places responding to some things I heard tonight. I just wanted to talk about paper dolls for a second. So I heard your clarifying questions. Anthony shared with me earlier when we came back from summer that there are 6 rolls of paper towels in that, and received 3 cartons 1 week. And we have 55 paper towel dispensers in our school. So if we do more cleaning, that doesn't work. And what I wanted to share is the reason we have paper towels is because the teachers buy them. We buy them for our own classrooms. We buy them for the classrooms where there are vacancies and there are substitutes right now, so that when kids go to art, where there's not a teacher, but there's a substitute, they're paper towels. And it's not because Anthony's not doing his job, it's because he's not providing with the supplies. So I just wanted to share that. I wanted to also respond to something I heard Dr. Negron say in response to Miller's question. I heard her say we need to hire 33 tradespeople, but we don't have the money to do it. Last spring, we experienced right-sizing students. The class sizes got bigger. Positions were the ones that were right-sized. And so I'm just going to propose that perhaps an avenue to explore is right-sizing the executive team, right-sizing non-student facing positions. So we need 33 tradespeople. The Board of Ed recently passed voted to add a second reading supervisor. So we used to have 1, now we have 2. They both of those positions are paid more than $150,000. Right? So we're increasing executive level, and we don't have folks working in schools. I just, right-sizing doesn't, you know, what are you doing there? Nobody wants to visit. We've all, I was I lost my position at Exeter Grant and was transferred. Very few. I guess I'll just stop there. We have a communications director, we have 4 assistant superintendents, 2 supervisors of reading, 33 tradespeople. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, is the representative from ABM here? Would like to come up and talk? ABM?
Hello again.
Hello, good evening.
Do you need to repeat my name and address?
Yes.
Jamarlene, ADM Industries, 84 Court. I didn't come to prepare anything, but I know there's a lot of commentary, so I want to leave it open for questions, for clarifying questions on some of the statements that were made. Anyone have any clarifying questions?
Good.
I don't need to get back and forth on specific things, but could you comment in general on the supplies that you're in?
Sure.
The, when you get an order for, so you are responsible for fulfilling the city order, is that correct?
Me personally, no, that would
Or
be.
the ABM is responsible?
That is correct. There is an assistant director of custodial services, and she received the order, and she processes those orders. I can look at the process with you if you'd like, and to go over some of the problems with this one.
Sure, if you could just, anything along those lines, if it's specifically, to, you know, if you get an order for, they get one, how does it happen?
So very often, as stated, the warehouse does not have enough supply. So number one, we actually don't have a warehouse. My understanding is that the district had a warehouse at some point in time. That was actually reduced to the basement of our facilities building at 75 the academic store with so many supplies at a time. Right, so that's the reason why often we have to place supply orders on a weekly basis. So sometimes there may be a transition period for that, where there may be a couple of days where we just don't have the supply because we can't store so much that we have to wait for another supply run to come in. This summer was especially difficult because the contract for the supplies is actually held by the city of New Haven. It's in conjunction with them, right? So we don't hold, we public school system not hold contract with the APM for the supplies. That contract was being changed over to a different vendor. That process still has not been completed. So, as we know, the fiscal year ends at June 30th, and that's where we have these budgets that open up. There are delays because there are budget numbers that need to be had. Ordering processes for us can be a little challenging at times. If contracts are not in place, so we can become authorized to a certain amount of money. We have to go to the no board. There's more process for us to get this approved. Many steps to do that in the process. Procurement coordinator. And so, summer when we needed to purchase supplies, when we needed, let's say, $159,000 just to start it for the school year, we can only order $20,000, and then for the rest of it to be approved by the board. So, some of the problems that we had over the summer, and that's here that now a lot of people get the orders now because we're able to put more money now and stuff in. Right? The contract is expected to be executed somewhere at time in the middle of October once the purchasing is done, getting that together. So if there are supply orders that are not being received on time, it's because we don't have it in stock. And the reason for the stock shortages is space inside our storage area and the ordering process. And again, just so we're clear, we don't hold the contract for supplies, right? That is actually HBS alongside with the city of New Haven manage that contract when it comes in. So as supply orders come in, there are sheets of paper that needs to receive. Lisa Hopkins, who is the director of maintenance, and then we have a team of crew guys. There are also issues at times with the trucks that get broken down, so they need to delay supply deliveries. And that has to do with the age of our vehicles, which is also a problem for the facilities department. We just recently submitted to the city of New Haven to replace at least 10 of our vehicles, including the 3 box trucks, because they're broken down so often. And the fact that we don't do maintenance on our vehicles, so we don't have the budget for it. We just do as a break, we repair. So very often we have transmissions that go and get blown, and then we don't have the money to fix them. And so alongside, it goes along with the narrative that the superintendent is presenting, that we don't have predictive maintenance that we do, right? And some of the other challenges that we have as part of the facilities deployment. Does that answer your question?
Thank you. Just one quick follow-up. So there's some part planning problems or challenge because you know it takes a while to get the contract revolved. So do they start earlier, and how do we address the warehousing issue? Because we do need to come into a universe where everybody has toilet paper.
That's correct.
And we're not there. So how do we get there?
I think that yes, the contract process, as we've kind of discussed, needs to be one that is under in the fiscal year. Right? What works for the city of New Haven as a city doesn't really work for the public schools, right? That's because they don't really do, right? They don't have the amount of paper towel that we can buildings, right? That's what we do. And so in order to be able to prepare for that, either we need to find possibly a warehouse location that we can finally use, right? Where we can actually store a large order of supplies. So we have stock so that when there's issues with contracts or issues with funding at the end of the fiscal year, which we often have where we have shortages, that we have stock that's available, right? So I think part of the solution is that. The other solution is also to make sure that when we're changing contracts, to make sure that we're working with the right person department, that when we're doing once this contract process changes, when it have to happen, that we understand the impact of that. One of the things that has been done is that we've actually had a meeting with the finance department for yes and purchasing department to understand the difficulties and the differences. They do have different processes, right? We have one, they don't. And so the procurement process is different. We have different purchasing authorization levels that they don't have. So a lot of different understanding. So recently we had a meeting to kind of bring that together so we understand how we work together better, understand the restraints, have a better understanding of the policies, and actually have clarity on some of the policies. Sometimes there are a lot of assumptions based on history or historical practices that are in line with current policy. And so we're trying to do a better job at that. It would be helpful if in the future we can really work on contracts that we worked out earlier in the year. It's not just an issue for contracts having to do with supplies and service contracts. It has to do with the fiscal year ending, the process to acquire appeal numbers, for the current fiscal year. If the contract early in the previous fiscal year, the corporate council may have some concerns about the long contract or the award's been sitting there until it's awarded, and why did it take so long? So again, there needs to be an understanding between the city purchasing department and the interface finance department and even the operations folks together collectively. How do we do this better overall so that we don't create these stumbling blocks down the road? But a warehouse location, if we can do it, would be something that would be very, very helpful. And I think that's something that I'll definitely discuss with progress to whether or not we can find a location to store supplies at a great number.
Are there any other questions? All the marks? Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, I'm just going to break it down to some pretty confused by your answer. I understand that ABM is a private company. The goals of privatization is to increase things like efficiency and expertise, especially. So that's my sense of privatization, Mr. Chair. So still confused about the toilet paper. Given your expertise at ABM and given efficiency for privatization, I'm still confused about toilet paper. The question being, I purchased the word we in your answer, who is the we?
I'm sorry.
My question being, in the we, the ABM, explain why, given your role as the private entity, your code system, that we didn't identify this problem, didn't sort this out, is that this year and there, if you don't mind my saying, why it went on for quite some time. Why are we here tonight? Where are we here tonight?
Sure.
If you could,
I apologize if I'm confused by we. I mean, I know that I'm ABM Industries, but I'm here as the executive director of facilities. I have been for the last year and a half, and so I consider myself to be part of the organization because every day I work as part of the organization, right? An ID that says ABM at the bottom, and so I didn't need to confuse you by that. So when I say we, I meant public school system, should we make that distinction going forward?
if I may,
Yes,
Mr. Chair, my confusion about we, it says we ABM, whereas we ABM and then we have public schools.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, to make sure I understand.
I apologize for not making that distinction.
Thank
Okay?
you.
And so ABM, right, as a company that has been brought here, we have 17 employees. And it's mainly management, with 3 managers and 3 assistant managers. ABM manages processes that exist for the New Haven Public School System and for the city of New Haven. We don't bring our own processes, we manage the processes that belong to the district. So we follow their processes. Now, when it comes to daily operations facilities, there are small adjustments that we can make. The processes, if it's approved by the district as ABM, but we have to follow the same union rules. We have to follow the same procurement rules. We have to follow all the rules that are set in place by the public school system and the city of New Haven. So when it comes to efficiencies, the answer is the problem was identified. But we don't get to make decisions, right? We are restrained by, or we have to adhere to the policies and the processes of New Haven Public Schools and the city of New Haven when it comes to procurement. So if the contract is being changed out by the city of New Haven, and it's their choice to do that, we can then say, hey, listen, by the way, you know, the fiscal ends by June 30th, we're going to have supplies by then. And they say, if they say yes, that's fine. If it's not, then even when we identify earlier on, we still have processes that we can go through. So whether I can have supplies for the next fiscal school year with this year's money. So even when it comes to, let's say, May 30th, and I say we don't have enough supplies I want to buy for next year now, I can't. I cannot cross the fiscal year's operating dollars. It has to wait until July 1st, right? And then I have to fight to go, or my department that has to go through the entire process that the school district has in place in terms of policy, and we're about to. So to answer your question, it's not that we didn't want to plan for that, but we still have to abide by the rules that are in place.
Giving your perspective, have you advocated specific changes in policy or procedures to the New Haven public school system that you feel weren't listened to or adhered to? Make suggestions.
Absolutely. So the meeting that was had between finance and the purchase department that was set up by me to talk about some of these problems that we have going forward. Mike Carter, who is now here as a consultant for operations, has also been discussing this with the superintendent and also the city to see what we can do about speeding up the purchasing process when we and so he can speak more to that, but the answer is yes. I don't know that I have that answer solely on me. Purchasing is a collective, thing that is done between three agencies. You're talking about APM as the management who requests things, and then there are still the processes that we have to go through to get those things.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
The building managers that are not local 287, what are their qualifications to be a building manager?
I actually
Are there any prerequisites to be a building manager?
Yeah, there's a hiring process, right, and that the resumes are reviewed by the assistant director of custodial services. So we're looking for someone that has, right, with one.
And the assistant director is who?
That's Lisa Hopkins.
And the building manager across is who?
The building manager, the day building manager across is
relationship with Lisa Hopkins is?
I believe that is Lisa's daughter, but she did not hire me.
That's my other question.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And there was a layer of supervision between.
I have a couple of questions.
Yes.
What is your role with SJ Services? What role do you play with SJ?
So SJ Services is the contractor that brings in the part-timers that assists with cleaning the building during the day and at night. The building managers in that work. So SJ Services has their own supervision. They have supervisors that come in at night. They have their own contract with New Haven Public Schools. That contract is not very about that. And it's our job to identify their work quality. And then if the work quality is not where up to par, that gets reported to SJ supervision for them to correct it.
So theoretically, we can get a report from a building custodian saying that this particular person is not familiar with work. That complaint goes to you directly?
To me, no, it goes to the assistant director of school services, but ABM, that is correct.
ABM talks to SJ, reprimand or whatever.
Requesting discipline.
My next question is, ABM just, let's look at what we're for a second. ABM manages.
We have a building manager there, and we have a night building manager there. So we have two positions in the building that is the only associated with the building that is associated with ABM. So it's not a separate person that is building manager and it's building manager. We supply a manager.
So that building manager is actually an ABM person?
That's correct. So
why wasn't the work done on Oak Grove?
what work specifically?
Talking about the stair treads, the ice chillers, the mold. I mean to say, it doesn't make much sense if you're a building manager. I don't know this building manager, so to allow that building to open or not send up a red flag to the powers to be, which is ABM, that this work needs to be done. That is unacceptable. How did that happen?
So the building manager doesn't do the work, right? They do the same work as other building managers, right? They're responsible for putting in work requests, and those work requests were put in. It's not a question as to whether they were not. So I'll address each thing that you brought individually. So the molds inside the school itself, we'll talk about is most likely the library, right? So how did that get identified? Someone came to us, which was the building manager, as a or someone else in the building at the time when they opened the library, said, okay, there's mold inside the library. That immediately goes to our environmental health and safety person, who's going now to verify that it's actually mold or concern for mold in the space, and maybe hire someone to come in and test it to verify that it's mold, right? It's the only way to determine if something's mold. So we had the library tested. It came back with higher levels of a particular mold and because it's higher than the elevations that are outside the building, we consider it an elevated mold school space. So we close the library and hire a remediation company to come in and do it properly. So whenever mold is reported, regardless of the building manager that you work for, it's all handled the same.
Okay, I mean, basic stuff like, the classroom tiles, stair treads. I was at Oak Cross last week. And I walked around and stuff like that. Obviously, it couldn't help me, but I walked up the stairwell. That it was the stair tread was loose, the concrete was broken. That's basic stuff that should have been fixed prior to any student, adult, community member walking in that building. That's an obvious. Now, mold, you might not notice it right away. I guess. That is obvious. Having been a building principal for over 20 years, those are basic things that a building manager should recognize, and that should not have happened. That should not have happened.
But to answer your question, the building manager has recognized and has reported it. The question is, why was it done?
Correct.
So we're talking about 6 staircases. The average stairwell project for a large school get redone, like we did it at Hill House. Like we Hill House was $75,000 in the stair tray in the staircases. That becomes a month project, right? And it requires capital dollars. So if it's not on the capital list of projects that have been approved with the capital dollars that we have, there's no way to get that work done. So that's not a reflection on the building manager, it's not a reflection on the trades either, because that's above their level. It has to do with capital dollars, sir. And so that's the answer.
Listen, I'm not trying to reflect on anyone. I'm just saying, that's an obvious thing that should not have gone out to capital projects. That's something that should have been fixed ASAP for safety reasons. You don't need to look at it and say, well, I can't fix it until it goes to a capital project, when that's a safety action. Now, you don't have to answer that, but that's a problem. I mean, it's a problem for me. It should be a problem for everyone. That's just a basic thing that anyone would say, I have to fix that. Send somebody in ASAP. I'm not worried about the other stairwells. I can fix those now, but that should have been fixed.
So just to provide some clarification, as we authorize the expenditure of capital dollars, right? That is not going to be a decision that we makes alone, right? That is done with the chief operating officer's office, right? What capital projects get approved and how that capital money is spent. So that's where the responsibility would lie to approve that project for it to be now versus later. And now that I've discussed it with Michael Carter, I've already walked the space with a vendor this week, and we're getting proposals now to get that done. And it's been identified and it's approved, right, as a capital project that now can be done.
Thank you for your presentation. I guess I understand, like, of course, there are monetary constraints to undertaking on projects that need to be undertaken. But something else that I think we've heard a lot in the testimonies and presentations is just general shortcomings of communication and collaboration. So I don't think anyone who's testified or anything like doesn't acknowledge that there are fiscal constraints, but it also seems like there are shortcomings in terms of communication between ABM or management and actual people on the ground. I was wondering if you could speak a little bit on that communication, like how does ABM managers or other management positions communicate with the custodians? Is there a procedure in place, given that a lot of people have noted like, them not being responsive? I wonder if you could speak to is a plan to, I guess, work on that communication, improve that collaboration.
Sure. The 287 leadership, all they will me if they feel that something is not being done or improved when it comes to my team. I've met Tommy the team before, whether it be disputes or whether it be something about a process that we want to improve. If there is something that is in after the notes from this meeting, right? Once the meeting with them and say, okay, well, if there's communication issues, then you have to explain to me where you think the breakdown is. Now, communication is one of those things where, there's also perception, right? And sometimes perceptions and personalities have to be worked out as part of that. For 20 years, civilian side, and also for military. So I get that, right? So one of the reasons why the COO had hired me here. And so these are conversations that we have to have one-on-one with right? There's something that can be ironed out, but ironed out process doesn't work. Let's see if we can improve it. What I expected tonight were a few examples, but I also know communication on a daily basis. Right? Maybe there were some cases where the right communication didn't happen the way it was expected. Maybe something did fall through the cracks. Things do happen sometimes, but that's when we come back to the table and we can fix the process by having a conversation about it. And so my plan tonight is to go back to the leadership and say, hey, are we still having a problem with leadership? Because that's what you told the Board of Aldermen. So then you have to be able to talk to them about it, figure out what's the issue, process, right? Is it that you just didn't get what you want? If you didn't understand why, I have to understand a little bit more about this particular context because, for instance, they gave examples about not having supplies this summer, but there's a reason why that had to do with funding and supplies not being available, right? And as far as I know, that was communicated. And so I'd have to go back and talk to them about what specifically they'd like to see improve on the communication side if there are still issues.
On that, have there been, in the years that ABM has been in the city, have there been conversations like that or meetings like that already in terms of addressing communication?
Yes. So I specifically have met with you, and I've been here for about a year and a half. We've been here for a little over 2 years. And so I have met with you and talked about communication expectations, right? So it could be something simply as you ask for something and you just show up the next day, but communication say, hey, you say, hey, we're coming. Right? And it could be a small thing like that. It's like, I prefer to have communication the same day to tell me that it's coming. So to have those conversations. Previously, there's been a problem with communication between management and the members. And so we're going to try and smooth that out so that we all have a shared understanding.
Heard 87 that there are 17 vacancies.
Yes.
There are youth environment unit that have not been posted, and that you have any role in posting those vacancies.
So the Soviel assistant director speaks to the representative of resources about working on that. But as he said, because of the testing, We've had a rolling at least 15 voter positions that have been empty for quite some time. And I guess this is having some struggles with filling those positions. And so what happens is when you get a vacancy for a full-timer, then a voter gets to that position and the pool continues to stay open. And so it is a problem. It's been discussed even with the previous chief of staff and how we can improve that process. I mean, before he left, Dr. Finley, he was working on trying to work something out with the city where I think they said there was a rule that used to be a rolling testing versus a testing that closes out at a certain date. That way we can continue to improve the pool. So I think it's a conversation how we can improve that pool of people that are available.
Will we heard if the positions are not posted?
So that's going to be, I have to follow up on specifically who does that, but it's someone that deals with hiring on the city side.
We could hear what, through you, Mr. Chair, any details about when those positions will be posted, what it would take for those positions to be posted before we get them filled. And then also through you, Mr. Chair, I think it'd be helpful for all of us to get a copy of the APN contract so that we just see what we're talking about. And this, from my previous question about how we get to a place where everybody has toilet paper, sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong, like you're saying you have some ideas, but there's a plan being developed that hasn't been developed yet. Is that correct?
So the contract is not fully executed yet. Yeah, the contract, the long-term plan is to have the contract in place, right? But in the meantime, you requested additional funding for a larger supply order, and that was received, right? So that was the short-term bridge. The very short-term bridge before that was the immediate order that was very, very limited in the amount that we had. The older schools, which created the problem, with not having enough to supply again in one, right? Because it was in terms of how much order at one point in time, the process.
Understood. You spoke about warehousing and some of the other components. I would say, if at whatever point there's a plan where you explain how we're going to have every kid in school and bathroom have toilet paper and every school have a real handle, not it would be good to share that with us so that we have a more concrete sense of what's really going to happen to kids there.
So yeah, with managing the resources that we have now, as I explained, we're trying to come up with better ways, as we talked about, better processes to kind of manage the resources we have now. How do we do, if we don't have enough, how do we just do better with what we have, right? And so that's what we're contemplating right now. That's why I want to come up with a schedule so that we have work orders that are not taking a year or 6 months to say. It's a safety issue, it gets done faster later, sooner than later. It's a true safety issue, so we can evaluate it that way, actually manage the process. But if there's no process, right, and we're just crisis response to everything, there's really nothing to manage, right? And everyone's going to say, I have a fire, right? Everyone cries wolf. And it becomes an immediate thing that has to be done. And it's stressful for the trades because they're constantly watching, being told left and right. It's stressful for the manager. You can't really manage it properly. So I think we're trying to put processes in place where we can actually collectively have an understanding of what we have. I'm sorry, we, ABM and the school district, collectively we understand that this is what we have. This is what we have to do it with. And to do it as efficiently as possible, this is the way we're going to have to manage it, right? Together as management and the school district. But there has to be a shared understanding. There has to be a shared understanding that if it's not an emergency, you understand that we'll only get to visit once every 6 weeks because all school, your work order load is very, very small. If it's not an emergency, you just wait 6 weeks and we'll get there, right? Because you have a schedule. So somebody will be there on that day to fix the problems for that school. And so I think if you do that, it kind of stops that madness of everyone's going to the flag because if you get this stuff today, right? You're going to throw a red flag tomorrow because that's how you get it done, right? And you're going to throw a red flag and say, well, that's how you get it done. Let me do that as well. And that's when the chaos starts. And that's kind of where we are right now. We're in true crisis response with everything that we do. And it's not efficient at all. So we have to put things in place. So if I need a warehouse, which I'm already in discussion with Mr. Carter about, how do we do that? Right? That's going to be the next step. Right? How do we do that? And so that's where I need his help, which is everything that we're trying to do now. And getting me what we need to manage it as efficiently as we can.
Just one more.
Yeah,
Sure, I'll let her answer the questions.
Is a bathroom stall without a handle to close the door, is that an emergency?
So it depends. If I have two carpenters that are available who normally would do that, right? And it's a bathroom handle that a bathroom stall does not have a handle. I've got broken glass. I have doors that are unsecured. I have tiles that are trip hazards that are real, like somebody's gonna get hurt, safety issues. Those end up first. So when we have to many of these, then we have to resort to hiring vendors to come in and take care of these things. That's where the approval of capital dollars comes in to say, can I move to do these items, right? And can I move it to the front of all the other items that I've been waiting for the last 6 months?
So a bathroom door that does not close is not an emergency?
So as a true safety issue, we wouldn't categorize it above other safety issues, right? So there's going to be levels, right? So if I got something where someone's truly going to get hurt, right? Like there's a railing down at Fairhaven right now that pointed out to me yesterday that still needs to be fixed. I immediately said that needs to be done. I don't care what you're doing. Come over now and fix that. Because somebody's going to fall down the stairs. That's a true safety issue, right? It's a bathroom stall handle that doesn't exist in an emergency. It depends on what else is above, right? What else is in the queue as well? It has to be done now. But we talked about that bathroom vandalism, right? And some of the reports to the Board of Education, we've all seen it. Bathroom vandalism is now becoming a hot topic right now, and something that is being prioritized. And so throughout the district, we have bathroom stalls that are in disrepair for quite some time, and we're getting quotations school to school for outside. Because a lot of times the bathroom stalls have to be replaced. That fabrication has to be done specific to the location and the bathroom itself. So, drilling more holes into the bathroom stall door to try to put the handle back on 20 times. The safety in itself because it's metal. And so we're looking at bathroom vandalism throughout the district right now and trying to apply the dollars that outside vendors take care of it because it's too much for our two carpenters. Because I have three, but without disability, for my two carpenters to do all.
We just have to figure it out. We have to.
I agree.
If I may, so if that's not the emergency in a bathroom, what about bathrooms that constantly flood every time the kids flush the toilet on a regular basis? So at Fairhaven, we have that second floor area where every time a kid flushes the toilet, it overflows continuously the rest of the day and floods the bathroom. So that's an emergency.
Any floods we consider emergency. We have one plumber right now, and we have them respond to anything that's flooding absolutely right away. As soon as possible. Yes, because you can only replace it.
Are there any other questions? Seeing none.
Thank you.
Okay, at this time, is there anyone else from the public that would like to testify on this or speak on this item? Come forward. State your name and address, please.
My name is Brianna, and I have under LSE Grasshope Boulevard, New Haven, Connecticut. As a graduate of Roble Cross High School, I think it's really sad to see the state that it's in and the lack of urgency to get it done and to fix it. I learned myself in those hallways. I gained teachers who became mentors, who became lifelong friends in the course room. And the lack of urgency and the excuses for policy and protocol seem like a slightly piece of it because you're only at high school for 4 years. And if we want our kids to be successful, we need to have an urgency to get it done because they don't get to do it done. And hopefully they don't have to do it for the lack of environment for them to be successful. I know what it's like to be in a hallway overcrowded in 2010. I don't know what it's like to be in a hallway where your school is over capacity by 400 plus students every day if they come because of the state of the school. And if they stop showing up, what do we do about our community and the kids in the streets? because we're creating a bigger problem by not just responding to work orders or saying that we don't have the answers that we have to find, because we don't want to lose the children. I was a lead counselor for many, many years, and I understand how important it isn't just for education, these buildings are. It's for our community, for our children to find safe havens in these spaces. My best friend learned how to swim in Wilberforce High School. Have you seen Wilberforce High School? I don't know what's happening in Wilberforce High School, but it shouldn't be students. So for me, I understand the importance of relationship, but I want the people who are in position to be able to change the narrative for the children who are building for tomorrow, because I'm a student of yesterday. To look past what your job looks like, to look past the papers on your table, to look past the conversations that you have in the coffee room with the other privileged people that you see every day, and think about the students who have to show up. Think about the environments that they may be coming from. Think about what they are running from to school for. And continue to do the things that we know you're possible. We know it's possible for you to do if you want to do. Continue to build the relationships to do what you need to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else from the public that would like to speak on this item? Is there anyone else from the public that would like to speak on this item? For a third time, is there anyone else? Can they come forward, please? Please state your name and address.
Good evening. My name is Allison Heimer. My address is 54 C Street, New Haven. It's a pleasure. I went to Wilberforce High School. I graduated class in 2003. I taught at Wilberforce High School. I taught French in 2020. In 2002, there was a fight at the floor that broke the water fountain. That water fountain was broken in 2020. Same way. And I walked by it every day for a year and it was broken. And in the morning announcements, someone would get on the loudspeaker and say, "Don't forget to hydrate." With what? You can about the tools that we need to actually fulfill what you're telling them to do. They can't do it. Oh.
Thank you. Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak on this item? Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak on this item? For the third time, is there anyone else from the public that would like to speak on this item? Seeing none. Do I have a motion to close the public portion of this meeting?
So moved.
Second. Do I have a second? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Do I have a motion to adjourn this? Do I have a second? All in favor? Aye. Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Hi. I did it on purpose.